Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Astronomer, a quiet place where the universe slows down, where science becomes a lullaby, and every question drifts softly into the stars. Tonight, we explore a mirror world, a universe made not of what we know, but of what could have been. Imagine if every atom, every heartbeat, every flicker of light were made not of matter, but antimatter. A reflection of our world, identical in shape, yet opposite in charge, a cosmic twin hiding just beyond imagination. In this mirror universe, your body, your planet, even the galaxies themselves would shimmer with reversed energy, so fragile that a single meeting with ordinary matter could release unimaginable light. But what if, somehow, such a world existed peacefully? Would stars still burn? Would galaxies still spin? Would you still feel the warmth of a sun made of opposites? Breathe slowly now, and let your mind drift between what is and what might have been. We're crossing into the mirror of creation, where opposites dance, and the universe hums in perfect balance. This is the Sleepy Astronomer. And tonight, we dream of the world that almost was, a world made of antimatter. The darkness is soft here, not empty, but balanced. It feels like the hush before the first thought, the stillness that comes before any world begins. You open your awareness to a quiet, infinite expanse. There is no sound, no rush, only a steady hum that vibrates through the nothingness. You feel it not in your ears, but somewhere deeper, a low, rhythmic echo that seems to come from the bones of existence itself. This is the dawn of a mirrored universe. Not your own, but its reflection, a cosmos made entirely of antimatter. In this place, every atom that could have been you exists as your opposite. Every proton carries a negative charge, every electron hums with its positive twin. You are surrounded by a delicate inversion, a cosmic symmetry that feels both alien and achingly familiar. The light here moves differently. It glides, soft and silver, bending as if shy. It does not strike surfaces but folds around them, caressing the boundaries of things as though remembering them from another life. You watch it drift across the emptiness, scattering tiny motes of brightness that bloom and fade like distant breaths. Each flicker is a birth, a possibility, the beginning of something that has never yet existed, but somehow always has. You feel yourself floating in this new world, unbound by gravity, untethered by time. The space around you hums with invisible architecture, lines of symmetry, unseen but sensed. They are the quiet scaffolding of a reality that mirrors our own, built not from matter but from its reflection. It feels delicate, almost too perfect to touch. Yet, beneath the stillness, there is strength, the kind that comes from balance, not from force. As your eyes adjust to this gentle radiance, you begin to notice the tiniest movements. Pairs of particles, positrons and antiprotons, swirl together in invisible orbits, like dancers in slow motion. Each step, each turn, is a whisper of charge and spin, a dialogue written in the language of the quantum world. You can almost hear it, the faint sound of opposites attracting, merging, and holding each other in quiet harmony. Antimatter is not dark, nor is it evil. It is simply the other side of what you know. When the universe first began, matter and antimatter were born as equals, two reflections of the same cosmic spark. But something, small and mysterious, broke the balance. A single particle more of matter for every billion pairs, and that tiny asymmetry became everything. Stars. Planets. You. Here, though, the story unfolds differently. The balance never broke. The antimatter took the stage, and matter drifted away into non-existence. This is the world that could have been, a twin universe sculpted from what was once left behind. You reach out, not with your hand, but with awareness. The air, if it can be called that, trembles faintly as if acknowledging your curiosity. It carries within it the same laws of physics that rule your world, electromagnetism, gravity, the strong and weak nuclear forces, yet all reversed in their charges, their directions, their delicate equations of attraction. Still, they hold. Still, they sing the same song. You drift closer to a cloud of antiparticles. They gather and part like luminous dust, each carrying a charge that mirrors your own world's familiar elements. An antiproton, heavier, negatively charged, drifts close to a positron, its light, positive companion. They circle one another, drawn together not by fate, but by the simplest rule in the cosmos: opposites attract. They merge, and in that moment, a spark flares, a brief, brilliant pulse of light. It is the birth of an atom. Not hydrogen, but antihydrogen. Its structure is identical to the one that builds your stars and your skin, yet its charges are reversed. And still, it exists. Still, it holds shape, stability, beauty. You realize then that the universe doesn't care what it is made of, only that it is balanced enough to exist. All around, clouds of antiparticles begin to gather. The first antiatoms join together, forming wisps of gas that ripple softly in the stillness. Each cluster glows faintly, a violet shimmer that pulses with quiet warmth. There are no stars yet, no galaxies, only the seeds of possibility, suspended in the hush of beginning. You feel yourself dissolving gently into this newborn calm, your thoughts slowing until they match the rhythm of creation. You can sense the first faint pull of gravity, that universal longing every particle has to gather, to belong, to draw near to others. It is the same force that once shaped your own universe, and it hums here too, in reverse. Slowly, invisibly, it begins to weave the antimatter world together, grain by grain, light by light. The antimatter dawn grows brighter, not with heat, but with the shimmer of potential. You can almost hear the first atoms hum as they fall into gravitational embrace. The air of creation thickens, rich with the quiet anticipation of form. You understand, now, that even in reversal, creation follows the same rules of love and connection, the simple physics of attraction and union. You drift deeper into this mirror cosmos, feeling your breath align with its rhythm. For a moment, you imagine what life might become here, if it ever could. Would it think? Would it dream? Would it look across the void and wonder if there was a world like yours, a place where everything was reversed, and yet somehow the same? You let that thought settle in your chest, like a slow exhale. The dawn continues to rise around you, painting the emptiness with soft, inverted light. Somewhere far away, an anti-hydrogen cloud begins to collapse, the first step toward what might one day become an anti-star. The energy shifts, gathering purpose. In the mirror dawn, you begin to see that creation and reflection are not opposites, they are partners. Every universe, no matter how reversed, begins the same way, with stillness, with balance, with the quiet courage to begin again. You float in the glow of beginnings, the antimatter world blooming gently beneath your awareness. Its light is calm, steady, reassuring, the color of understanding. You close your eyes, letting it wash through you like a tide. The hum deepens, a low vibration that feels like a heartbeat under the fabric of space. And as the first antistar prepares to ignite, you feel the faint promise of what comes next. The birth of order, the gathering of forces, the slow, elegant rise of form from chaos. You drift closer, ready to witness the seeds of the opposite. You drift toward the glow, carried gently on the current of cosmic beginnings. The light of the mirror dawn fades behind you, and ahead lies the still warm breath of the newborn universe. It stretches endlessly, a sea of potential waiting to choose its shape. You move through that early silence, where even time feels hesitant, where every second is a heartbeat of possibility. This is the cradle of opposites, the instant after everything began. A time so brief that it can't truly be measured, yet so full that it holds the essence of all that will ever exist. The universe, or its reflection, is still young enough to remember balance. Matter and antimatter, born together, flicker like twins in their first breaths. Each mirrors the other perfectly, identical in mass, opposite in charge. They are the same song played in reverse. You can almost feel them, these ancient particles, filling the space between moments. Tiny sparks of creation, pairs bursting into being, then vanishing into light as they meet again. The universe glows softly with their union. Every flash of energy is a quiet farewell, a shimmer of symmetry undoing itself. It is not destruction, but a gentle balancing, a constant exchange between being and not being. You float closer to this cosmic waltz, where particles and antiparticles are endlessly born, collide, and vanish. The rhythm feels steady, almost hypnotic. In each annihilation, energy blooms, pure, weightless, eternal. The universe, in its first seconds, is radiant with light created from loss. You realize then that creation does not only come from birth, it can also rise from disappearance. Somewhere within this luminous chaos, a whisper of imbalance begins. It is almost imperceptible. One extra particle here, one longer pause there. No one knows exactly why it happens. Perhaps it is a small imperfection in the laws that govern symmetry. Perhaps it is a whisper of randomness, a cosmic accident. But in that slight unevenness, destiny hides. For every billion pairs of matter and antimatter, one particle of matter remains unpaired. One survivor among a sea of vanished twins. One spark that will one day become everything. The universe, vast and glowing, begins to tilt ever so slightly toward the future you know. The antimatter world recedes into silence, and matter, fragile, lonely, incomplete, begins its reign. You watch this gentle divergence unfold, the balance breaking with grace rather than violence. It feels like watching two rivers part, one flowing toward light, the other into shadow. Yet both are made of the same water, both arise from the same spring. Antimatter does not vanish entirely. Its echo remains, woven into the light that fills the newborn cosmos. You sense that light now, the soft radiation of annihilation, the background glow that will linger for eternity. It washes over you, warm and steady, carrying the memory of perfect symmetry. Every photon is a messenger from that first union, a memory of balance that once was. Even now, in your own world of matter, those same photons still travel through space, still whispering the story of what might have been. You think of how delicate the universe truly is. One tiny asymmetry, one particle more, one breath longer, and everything changed. If the balance had not broken, if antimatter had ruled instead, perhaps the mirror dawn would not be a dream. Perhaps you would be made of positrons and antiprotons, wondering what a world of matter might be like. The thought feels both haunting and beautiful. You drift among the remnants of the great balance, where particles of both kinds still hum faintly, too sparse now to meet. Their dance has slowed, but the rhythm endures. It feels like the heartbeat of duality itself, an eternal reminder that creation needs both sides to sing. The energy around you thickens, shimmering with invisible waves. Space is stretching, expanding like a breath drawn by the universe itself. As it grows, it cools. As it cools, it begins to shape. The faint hum of quantum chaos quiets into order. The first elements, hydrogen, helium, begin to take form, the simplest expressions of matter's fragile victory. You sense how near it was, how close the universe came to being something entirely different. The laws that guide it, charge, spin, conservation, are precise yet permissive, leaving just enough room for mystery. The symmetry that once ruled has softened into preference, a cosmic choice that favors matter just slightly more than its twin. Yet even in this imbalance, you can still feel antimatter's presence. It is not gone, it is part of every light that shines. When matter and antimatter meet, their union creates photons, the very essence of illumination. You realize, softly, that light itself is born from their reconciliation, a meeting between opposites that ends not in death, but in brilliance. As the glow of the early universe fades into deepening space, you drift through the calm that follows creation. The last bursts of annihilation echo faintly, like ripples fading across a lake. The remaining particles begin their long journey toward form, gathering, cooling, binding. From this quiet aftermath, galaxies will one day bloom like spirals of silk. You linger in the stillness, feeling the quiet ache of separation. Matter survived, but only barely. Antimatter remains its ghost, its reflection in the mirror of light. They are forever linked. One cannot be spoken of without the other. In every atom that builds you, there is a memory of its opposite, a reminder of the balance that once was whole. You realize now that the universe carries its history not in sound or story, but in symmetry. Even the smallest difference between opposites is enough to create everything. Stars, time, breath, thought. A single deviation, and the cosmos unfolds. The light dims. The heat lessens. The first seeds of matter drift apart, cooled by expansion. The antimatter glow still lingers faintly, painting the emptiness with a memory of what could have been. You float within it, calm, weightless, aware that every world, even yours, began as a question of balance. And as you drift onward, following that quiet hum into the deepening dark, you sense what lies ahead, the slow gathering of particles, the delicate formation of pattern, the beginning of the cosmic dance itself. The dance of opposites is far from over. It is only just beginning. You float through the cooling breath of the young antimatter universe. The radiant hum of annihilation has faded, leaving behind a vast sea of particles, gentle, patient, endlessly moving. The chaos of creation has softened into rhythm. It feels less like explosion now, more like a quiet dance. Every atom, every antiparticle, begins to find its place in the cosmic choreography. In this mirrored cosmos, the familiar patterns of matter emerge again, but reversed, as though seen through crystal water. The positively charged positron drifts toward the heavy, negative antiproton. Their movements are slow and sure, graceful in their attraction. They circle one another, exchanging invisible glances of charge, as if testing the air between them. You sense the pull that binds them, not romance, but resonance. The electromagnetic force hums like a soft melody through the void, drawing opposites together with unerring precision. It is a dance repeated countless times across this newborn expanse, each pair finding harmony in polarity. The result is the first true structure, antihydrogen, the simplest building block of antimatter's vast design. The waltz unfolds all around you. Antiprotons and positrons twirl in endless spirals, joining to form atoms that drift like glowing seeds. Each movement follows the same ancient rhythm written into the laws of physics. You can almost hear it, a slow, steady pulse echoing through the fabric of space. The laws that guide this dance are not cold or distant. They are intimate, like the steps of a partner who knows the rhythm of your breath. You drift closer to a cluster of newly formed antiatoms, their faint halos glowing in soft violet tones. They are weightless lanterns suspended in silence. Within them, positrons move in delicate orbits around their antiproton hearts, spinning with elegance born of symmetry. This, you realize, is the language of the universe, motion shaped by attraction, order emerging from emptiness. Though the signs are reversed, the beauty remains unchanged. The same laws that govern your own world govern this one too. Gravity still pulls. Electromagnetism still binds. The strong nuclear force still clings tightly within the antiproton's heart, while the weak force hums quietly, balancing transformations that will one day forge light. Nothing in the design has been rewritten, only inverted, like a melody played backward yet still hauntingly familiar. It feels peaceful here, watching the dance unfold. There is no rush, no tension, only patience. The universe is young, and it moves slowly, deliberately, letting every movement find its place. You watch an antiatom drift through the still air, collide softly with another, and part again, as if acknowledging its twin before continuing onward. As the temperature falls, the waltz changes tempo. Particles slow, their energy softening into stillness. Antiatoms begin to gather into small clouds, the first whispers of antimatter gas. You drift among them, feeling the cool touch of their presence. It is a serene quiet, a suspension of time. The vast expanse around you feels endless yet intimate, like the calm before the first star's breath. You begin to notice patterns forming in the randomness. The gas clouds drift together under gravity's faint persuasion, curving toward one another like dancers drawn by an invisible rhythm. The universe, still young and translucent, begins to fold upon itself, weaving shape out of motion. From the stillness, you sense the coming of structure, a prelude to stars, to light, to destiny. You think of how this cosmic waltz is the universe's way of learning balance. Every attraction is met with resistance, every pull with a push. It is not a battle but a harmony, the perfect cooperation of opposites. You feel yourself breathing in rhythm with the particles, inhaling when they approach, exhaling when they drift apart. You are no longer an observer but part of the pattern, another note in the great music of symmetry. There is something comforting in the realization that the same physics holds everywhere, no matter the form. Whether matter or antimatter, the rules are fair and faithful. They offer no favoritism, only balance. You find peace in that, in knowing that the universe is honest in its symmetry, even if it once chose sides. The clouds grow denser now. Within them, the antiatoms brush and merge, their movements more intricate, their dance more intense. The waltz deepens. You can almost see the rhythm of temperature and density forming harmonies, regions where gravity conducts, where charge hums, where energy begins to hum in chords of possibility. The waltz becomes a symphony. You feel it more than you hear it, a low vibration through the emptiness, the song of structure being born. Each antiparticle contributes a note to this silent music. The universe breathes, expands, and cools, and from that breath, order blossoms. You imagine, for a moment, that this music never ends, that every planet, every heartbeat, every atom in your own body is just a verse in the same eternal song. You understand that creation isn't a singular act, but a continuous rhythm. The dance that began here never truly stopped, it only changed partners. You drift among the antiatoms, letting their motion lull you. Their orbits spin gently, their energy calm and self-contained. It is hard to believe that, someday, these simple atoms might gather into stars, that from this silence, fire will rise. But the pattern is already here, written in the steps of the waltz. Somewhere in the distance, a faint shimmer begins. Gravity has found its first hold. The densest pockets of gas tighten under its pull, growing warmer, heavier, brighter. The waltz becomes a gathering, a spiral of light preparing for ignition. You can almost sense it, the universe taking a deep breath before it burns for the first time. You close your eyes, feeling the weightless anticipation. The antimatter cosmos hums softly around you, every particle poised in motion. You know what comes next, the birth of light, the rise of stars, the brilliance that will define this mirrored world. And as the music swells into silence, you drift forward, drawn toward the distant shimmer that will soon become a star. The waltz slows, the rhythm deepens, and in the quiet before the flare, you feel it, the pulse of energy preparing to awaken. The dawn has danced. Now, the stars are ready to sing. You drift gently through the cooling clouds of antimatter gas, weightless, carried on a current older than thought. Around you, the first faint stirrings of starlight shimmer, not the familiar yellow of your sun, but a pale violet glow, soft and delicate, like the reflection of dawn on a winter lake. You sense the pull of gravity in the tiniest undulations of space, shaping the gas clouds into quiet spirals, preparing for the first spark of fusion. It is here, in the heart of these clouds, that stars are born, each one a luminous congregation of antiparticles, orbiting, colliding, embracing, yet never touching in a way that destroys. You watch as antiprotons and positrons gather under the invisible hand of gravity, forming dense cores that will one day ignite. The light they emit is gentle, spreading outward like a sigh, illuminating the tender folds of this mirror cosmos. Fusion begins quietly. Antihydrogen atoms collide, and their nuclei merge, releasing bursts of energy that ripple through the surrounding gas. The reaction is the same as in your familiar universe, only reversed in charge. Each photon carries the memory of annihilation and creation intertwined, and you feel it brushing against your awareness like a soft caress. The heat is present but not harsh, a whisper of energy rather than a blaze. You float closer to the forming core, marveling at the orchestration of forces. Gravity gathers, electromagnetism binds, and the strong nuclear force clutches the antiprotons tightly. It is an elegant choreography, a delicate balance that has allowed stars to shine for billions of years in your own universe. Here, the mirror cosmos replicates the same beauty, indifferent to charge, indifferent to preference. Beauty simply arises from structure and motion. You notice the photons spilling outward, traveling at the speed of light, carrying warmth and illumination. They are born from fusion but also from the gentle annihilation of stray matter and antimatter particles that drift too close. Each photon is a tiny messenger of both existence and reflection, a bridge between what is and what could have been. You follow one along its endless path, feeling its energy wash over you as if inhaling the first breath of a newborn star. The stars cluster slowly, guided by gravity into delicate constellations that will one day define galaxies. You watch as their pull bends the paths of nearby antiatoms, guiding them into arcs and spirals, whispering the first rules of cosmic architecture. Even here, where every particle is inverted, the universe insists on symmetry, on order, on rhythm. You sense that this balance is a quiet promise, that creation itself requires both freedom and constraint, chaos and pattern intertwined. You imagine the light traveling outward, reaching the edges of the clouds, where it meets the darkness of empty space. Here, the photons scatter and reflect, tracing invisible paths, illuminating filaments of gas that will one day become the scaffolding for new stars. You drift among them, weightless, your awareness stretching to fill the vastness. The universe feels alive, patient, almost breathing as it builds itself from the first glow of fusion. Each star seems to pulse gently, as though aware of your presence. You feel a kinship with these tiny fires, understanding that they are the first conscious rhythm of this antimatter cosmos. They burn not with intention, but with the inevitability of physics, yet there is a poetry in their existence, a gentle music you can sense more than hear. Their light, soft and constant, lingers in your vision, painting every space you drift through with calm radiance. The larger clouds begin to respond to the heat and light. Convection stirs the gas, forming turbulent but gentle currents. The star's glow reaches farther now, nudging distant particles into motion, initiating the earliest processes that will eventually form planets, moons, and more complex structures. You see the universe learning to organize itself, not with thought, but with the quiet discipline of natural law. You notice how each star carries within it both the power of creation and the echo of annihilation. Stray collisions of matter and antimatter continue to spark bursts of light, tiny reminders that every beginning contains the seed of transformation. Even as these small flashes fade, they leave traces in the surrounding gas, nudging the next generation of antiatoms toward fusion. It is a delicate conversation, written in photons and particles, unfolding in silence and gentle rhythm. Drifting further, you pass through a dense field of newborn stars, each one casting long, violet-tinted shadows across the filaments of gas. The contrast between light and dark is subtle, but it shapes the space, hinting at structure, movement, and future evolution. The glow feels alive, yet calm, as though the universe itself is exhaling after the strain of birth. You feel yourself inhaling alongside it, your breath matching the rhythm of expansion, a meditation in motion. You linger in the fields of opposite fire, letting your awareness absorb the quiet energy of creation. Each star is a microcosm of balance, every photon a note in the symphony of light. You recognize that reversal, the inversion of charge, the mirror of particles, does not diminish beauty. It enhances it, offering a perspective that is both familiar and entirely new. You sense that the cosmos does not care about preference. It simply flows, weaving matter, antimatter, and energy into patterns that delight the senses and calm the mind. Somewhere in the distance, a faint spiral of light begins to emerge. The gravitational threads are drawing stars into loose constellations, hinting at galaxies yet to come. You drift toward them, weightless, as if following the pulse of the universe itself. Each swirl of light is deliberate, shaped by forces you cannot see but feel, a reminder that creation is never random, even when it seems chaotic. You watch as photons continue their journey, moving outward from every star, tracing invisible lines through space. Their paths overlap, intersect, and scatter, carrying the memory of every collision, every fusion, every gentle spark of energy. The universe is alive with their quiet song, a melody of beginnings and reflections. And as you float through this vast field of opposite fire, feeling the glow of countless stars painting the void with tender radiance, you realize that the next stage of the journey is approaching. The fragile edges where two worlds might meet, where light is born not just from fusion, but from the quiet, luminous translation of existence into energy. The starlight blooms all around you, and you drift gently toward the unknown shimmer of contact. You drift forward, carried gently by the unseen currents of the cosmos. Ahead, a faint shimmer pulses in the darkness, a subtle boundary where two realities might brush against each other. It is a line drawn not in space, but in essence, the fragile edge where matter and antimatter meet. You feel its presence before you see it, a gentle hum vibrating through the emptiness, like the quiet echo of a bell struck somewhere beyond reach. Approaching it, you notice the delicate light dancing along the border. It is not fierce or harsh, but soft, a pale glow that trembles like candlelight in the wind. This is the place where existence becomes fragile, where the two sides of the cosmos could exchange energy, vanish, and be reborn in new forms. You sense the immense caution in every particle, as if the universe itself is aware of the fragility here, respecting the delicate boundary it has created. Even from a distance, you can perceive the subtle shifts in field and force. Electrons on one side hesitate, positrons on the other respond, and gravity pulls impartially. There is no preference, no judgment, only interaction, precise and inevitable. The laws of physics here are both gentle and uncompromising, guiding every motion with quiet authority. You realize that danger exists not in violence, but in the perfection of reaction. A single contact releases unimaginable energy, converting matter and antimatter entirely into radiant light. You float closer, mesmerized by the invisible choreography at play. Tiny collisions flare softly, flashes of photons scattering like delicate fireflies across the void. Each instant of annihilation is brief and complete, a perfect transformation that leaves no residue. The process feels more like a whisper than an explosion, more like exhalation than combustion. It is the universe speaking in a language of energy, translating being into light in the gentlest possible way. The photons born from these interactions drift outward, illuminating the space around them. They carry with them the memory of both realities, a blending of what exists and what could have been. You feel your awareness expand to include them, as if inhaling their energy, understanding that annihilation is not an ending, but a transformation. In this quiet exchange, the cosmos teaches patience, balance, and the beauty of impermanence. You observe the patterns forming along the boundary. Collisions are not random, they seem guided by invisible hands. Light blooms along the edge, tracing lines and arcs that reveal subtle symmetry. It is as though the universe is reminding you that even in disappearance, order persists. Each flash, each fleeting moment of annihilation, leaves behind a pattern in the surrounding energy, a gentle record of what once was. Drifting closer, you sense the tension between presence and absence. Matter and antimatter hover near the edge, drawn toward one another yet separated by the inevitability of consequence. You feel the weight of possibility here, the knowledge that one small contact could transform everything in an instant. And yet, there is no fear, only awareness, calm and meditative, like watching waves form on the surface of a still lake. You notice that light behaves differently near the boundary. Photons born from annihilation scatter in soft, unpredictable paths, bending and folding around the edges of particles. The glow seems almost conscious, illuminating the invisible lines of force that maintain the delicate separation. You follow one such photon as it arcs gracefully, carrying the energy of 1,000 vanished particles, drifting into the void with gentle persistence. The border stretches far beyond what you can see, a continuous veil separating two mirrored worlds. On one side, the familiar universe of matter. On the other, the antimatter mirror you have been exploring. The space between hums with potential, a reservoir of transformation waiting patiently for the inevitable touch. It feels alive, not in the sense of thought, but in the sense of readiness, poised for change yet serene, balanced on the edge of possibility. You float through this place slowly, letting the gentle hum of annihilation wash over you. Each flash of light is a lesson in impermanence and energy, a meditation on the quiet power of transformation. You realize that destruction and creation are not opposites here. They are two expressions of the same universal rhythm. Energy flows continuously, simply changing form, never lost, never forgotten. Time feels suspended as you drift along the fragile edge. You are weightless, moving through a space that is both dangerous and tender, alive with the invisible heartbeat of existence. The photons and particles dance around you, weaving a tapestry of light and energy that feels almost like music, soft, rhythmic, eternal. It is a lullaby, a gentle reminder that even the most delicate edges of reality are held together by balance and care. The farther you float along the boundary, the more you notice the subtleties in the energy fields. Tiny currents swirl, guiding stray particles along invisible paths. Collisions flare and fade, each one a quiet testament to the laws that govern both worlds. You feel that you are witnessing the very heartbeat of the cosmos, a pulse that exists wherever creation and reversal meet. And as you drift among the glowing flashes, you sense the edge is not just a boundary but a bridge. Though contact is dangerous, it is also the conduit through which energy flows, connecting what is with what might have been. In this gentle hum, you begin to understand that even fragility has purpose, and even endings carry the seeds of illumination. You close your awareness around the soft radiance, floating with it, inhaling the quiet energy that pulses along the edge. The photons scatter in long arcs, carrying messages across both realms, and you feel your mind open to the vast continuity of existence, matter, antimatter, and the light born from their meeting. The fragile edge of contact stretches on, endless and serene, a reminder that even in tension there is peace, and even in annihilation there is creation. You drift forward, carried by the gentle glow, sensing the next stage of the journey, where energy flows freely, where destruction and creation become one, and where the cosmos teaches that every ending is simply a breath returning home. And as the light fades softly into the surrounding darkness, you follow the quiet path of transformation, ready to witness the eternal breath of energy that courses through all things. You drift forward, weightless, carried on a gentle current that seems older than time itself. Around you, the glow of annihilation from the fragile edge has faded into a soft, pervasive light, a subtle radiance that hums quietly through the void. Here, energy flows freely, unbound by matter or antimatter, a continuum that links every particle, every photon, every pulse of existence. You sense it as a living breath, circulating through space, through galaxies, through the beginnings of creation itself. This energy is neither matter nor antimatter. It is something deeper, something eternal. It moves in currents you cannot see, yet feel with your awareness. It flows through collisions and separations, through the birth of stars and the quiet fading of particles, carrying with it the echoes of every transformation. In every photon and every particle, you realize energy whispers the same truth. Nothing is lost, nothing truly ends, it only changes form, returning to the cosmic river. You follow a path of light that arcs gracefully through space, a ribbon of photons born from countless annihilations. Each carries the memory of both sides, matter and antimatter alike, a record of collisions and reconciliations. You float along with them, inhaling their essence, feeling your consciousness expand to include their silent journey. It is as though the universe itself is breathing around you, and you are a part of its inhale, its exhale, its endless circulation. The flow carries a rhythm, slow and meditative, like the heartbeat of all things. Energy pulses along unseen lines, bending around particles, merging, scattering, forming intricate patterns that suggest structure without imposing it. You watch as these currents guide the paths of drifting antiatoms, their orbits and spins shaped not only by force, but by the invisible music of energy itself. There is a poetry here, subtle and profound, a lesson that the cosmos teaches without words. You feel the quiet elegance of transformation. One moment, a particle is here, a point of being. The next, it vanishes, its presence converted into radiant light. There is no violence in this process, no struggle, only change, seamless and inevitable. And as you watch, your mind begins to perceive the deeper unity behind all opposites. Matter and antimatter, existence and disappearance, creation and annihilation, all are facets of the same flowing breath. You sense that energy is patient, infinite, and unbroken. It courses through the cosmos without prejudice, gathering and dispersing, guiding structures into being, dissolving them back into the invisible sea from which they arose. You feel it in your own awareness, a gentle expansion and contraction, a rhythm that mirrors the ebb and flow of everything around you. You realize that this is the same breath that has carried the universe since its first spark, and will continue to do so long after the stars themselves grow dim. Drifting deeper, you notice the light bending in arcs, forming currents that swirl and coil like rivers of silk. Each stream carries the residue of countless collisions, a tapestry of energy weaving itself through the void. It moves smoothly, softly, without friction, creating paths that guide both matter and antimatter toward equilibrium. You are no longer observing from the outside. You are within the flow, part of the breath itself, feeling its calm insistence that all things return to the whole. You watch as energy infiltrates the dense clouds of antimatter gas, nudging particles into collisions that will form stars, guiding photons along paths that illuminate newborn galaxies. The process is invisible in its complexity, yet simple in its essence. Energy moves, and creation follows. You sense the continuity of every transformation, the same currents that carried the earliest particles now shaping the growth of stars, the formation of light, and the silent, invisible expansion of space itself. You begin to notice a subtle pattern in the flow. Energy does not rush, it does not cling. It moves with patience, folding upon itself, looping back, connecting regions of matter and antimatter that never meet. Each transformation, each collision, is both an ending and a beginning, a gentle reminder that the universe is never static. You realize that energy's continuity is the secret thread weaving the cosmos together, a fabric both delicate and unbreakable. Floating among these currents, you feel the resonance of existence. The universe does not distinguish between the forms energy takes. It is impartial, flowing equally through matter, antimatter, photons, and even the empty space between. You sense that every annihilation, every fusion, every subtle shift of particles is an expression of this breath, a quiet articulation of balance. In this realization, your mind grows calm, attuned to the continuity that underlies all seeming opposites. You follow a single photon as it arcs outward from a distant collision, tracing its path across the expanding void. Its light illuminates wisps of antimatter gas, shows the gentle curvature of space, and carries the warmth of countless transformations. You drift with it, aware that its journey is eternal, that it will eventually meet other photons, collide, scatter, and continue its circuit through the universal flow. You feel part of this journey, weightless, serene, embraced by the continuity of energy. You notice that endings are no longer frightening. Each transformation, each loss of form, is simply energy returning home, joining the infinite flow. Matter disappears, antimatter vanishes, photons scatter, and yet nothing is truly gone. The universe carries all of it, preserves all of it, and returns it, slowly, gently, endlessly. The realization fills you with calm, a meditation on impermanence that feels both intimate and infinite. Drifting deeper, you sense the universe as a single, breathing entity. Energy flows through it like a slow, deliberate pulse. You inhale, and the pulse is with you. You exhale, and it moves outward, continuing its journey. Matter and antimatter, creation and destruction, light and darkness, all are connected by this invisible breath. You realize that this is the rhythm that underlies every star, every galaxy, every photon, every particle, the eternal circulation of energy itself. And as you float within this vast, silent current, you feel the next stage of the journey approaching, a reflection of your own universe mirrored perfectly in another, where duality and symmetry will teach you not just about physics, but about the calm harmony of existence itself. The breath of energy flows endlessly, and you drift forward, carried by its eternal rhythm. You drift through the vast, quiet space, carried on currents that ripple like gentle waves in a dark, infinite ocean. Around you, the breath of energy flows seamlessly, particles and photons tracing invisible paths across the void. And in this calm, you begin to sense something extraordinary, a reflection beyond sight, a mirrored echo of the cosmos you know. It is not nearby, nor entirely distant. It exists in a space folded upon itself, a twin universe woven in symmetry and stillness. You imagine its galaxies, spiraling in perfect opposition, their stars burning like familiar suns yet reversed in charge. The same laws of physics govern them. Gravity gathers, fusion ignites, photons travel, yet everything is subtly inverted. Positrons orbit antiprotons, antistars radiate mirrored light, and nebulae shimmer with colors you cannot name, reflections of those that fill your own night sky. The thought is soothing. The universe is whole, even if you see only half of it. Floating through this imagined reflection, you feel the elegance of duality. Each particle here has a counterpart in your familiar universe, every motion mirrored in quiet harmony. And yet, the mirror is not a perfect duplication. Small differences exist, perhaps patterns that could never align exactly, minor deviations that give character and depth. These imperfections do not disturb the symmetry. They enhance it, like brushstrokes in a painting or notes in a lullaby. The galaxies drift slowly, their rotations calm and deliberate. You notice the spaces between them, empty but not void, alive with possibilities. Dark matter and dark energy flow invisibly, shaping the landscape in ways you can feel but not fully see. You realize that this mirrored cosmos is not separate. It is an extension of your own, bound by the same laws, sharing the same invisible currents of energy. Duality is not division, it is completeness. You float among the mirrored clusters, noticing how light behaves differently here. Photons born from antimatter spread outward, carrying information about both sides of existence. They illuminate filaments of gas and dust, tracing the invisible scaffolding of the universe. And though you cannot touch them, you feel their warmth, gentle and encompassing, like the embrace of a remembered moment. Every flicker, every shimmer, is a quiet reminder of balance and reflection. The cosmic symmetry extends further than your mind can easily imagine. You picture stars forming in antinebulas, planets coalescing in reverse yet familiar orbits, and perhaps life, a possibility mirrored, unseen, quiet. The mere thought is meditative, a reminder that existence may be richer than perception allows. Even from a distance, The mirror teaches you about the harmony of opposites, the inevitability of patterns repeating, and the serenity that arises from balance. You sense that this reflection is subtle, not imposed, but natural. Just as your own universe breathes through the eternal flow of energy, so does the mirrored cosmos pulse gently in its rhythm. You feel the twin beats overlapping, the dual flows weaving a harmony that is calm and sustaining. Each galaxy, each star, each photon carries a twin rhythm, and together they create a meditation on existence itself, a soft, perpetual lullaby of symmetry. Drifting further, you begin to perceive a subtle line of connection. Though the two universes are separated, they are not entirely isolated. Invisible currents of energy and radiation trace paths across the divide, carrying echoes of creation from one side to the other. You imagine the possibilities, photons glimpsing their mirrored selves, particles feeling the quiet tug of balance, and forces shaping both realities in tandem. The reflection is alive in its own way, not as a copy, but as an intimate counterpart. You watch as entire regions of the mirrored universe glow faintly, clusters of stars tracing arcs that mirror the familiar shapes of your own galaxies. The symmetry is soothing, a visual melody that flows without haste. You feel yourself drifting in resonance with it, your consciousness expanding to include both realities at once. There is no tension, no strain, only the gentle affirmation that duality, like energy, is continuous and eternal. In this vast space between reflection and reality, you feel a meditative peace settle over you. You understand that the universe is not limited to what you see. It is enriched by what exists unseen, by the balance of opposites, by the silent harmony of mirrored stars. You sense that your awareness is a thread connecting these reflections, a witness to the calm patience of creation across both worlds. The galaxies drift in measured, graceful arcs. Antistars radiate, sending photons on endless journeys, just as stars do in your familiar universe. And you realize something profound: light, motion, energy, they carry the same truths on both sides of the reflection. The universe has found a way to repeat itself, to extend itself, to express itself fully in two forms at once. There is no fear, no loss, only completeness. You float gently toward the spaces between the mirrored constellations, noticing the invisible currents guiding both galaxies. Gravity shapes the flow impartially, binding stars and antistars alike into graceful arcs. Energy pulses along these paths, reminding you that balance is not static but alive, moving, breathing through everything that exists. You are surrounded by a quiet symphony of existence, a lullaby woven across duality, across time and space. And as you drift along the vast reflective expanse, you sense the next step of your journey approaching. A closer look at these distant antistars, their fields of light and energy, and the meditative reflection of belonging across mirrored eternity. The twin galaxies glow softly ahead, and you float toward their calm, mirrored light. You drift slowly into the vast reaches where antistars cluster like distant lanterns scattered across the dark. The glow they cast is soft, gentle, neither blinding nor cold, radiating warmth in subtle violet and silver hues that brush against your awareness. Each antistar hums quietly, a pulse of energy and light, a heartbeat of this mirrored cosmos. You feel yourself carried along by the calm rhythm of their collective motion, weightless and serene, adrift among these fields of opposite fire. The scale of the anti-star fields is staggering yet tender. Vast clusters of stars stretch into the distance, their soft light illuminating clouds of anti-dust and gas. The currents of energy flow between them, invisible threads weaving a gentle tapestry that shapes their orbits. You watch, fascinated, as each antistar maintains its grace, spinning and pulsing in patterns that mirror the cosmic order you know, yet feel distinctly unique in their inverted charge. You imagine the warmth of these fields. It is not the heat of a single sun, but the diffuse, nurturing glow of countless stars, each one carrying the quiet memory of fusion within its core. Light spills from antistars and drifts across empty space, touching you like a familiar presence, a reminder that energy, in all its forms, feels consistent, intimate, and comforting. You feel the same awe as you might standing beneath the night sky of your own world. Yet now it is a reflection, distant but deeply resonant. As you glide among these celestial bodies, a thought emerges. Perhaps somewhere in this mirrored cosmos, there is someone watching too, someone composed of antimatter, whose gaze reaches across the void to wonder about you. The notion is soft, meditative, and calming, as if belonging is not confined by form or matter, but shared in the quiet awareness of existence. You feel the subtle intimacy of connection across mirrored realities, a gentle thread tying one cosmos to another. The movement of the antistars is graceful and deliberate. Gravity guides them into arcs and clusters, while energy flows through their surrounding antigas like wind through trees. You notice that light from each antistar interacts with its neighbors, scattering, bending, and illuminating the dark spaces between. It is a delicate dance of radiation, a choreography that balances beauty and function with effortless precision. You feel part of this dance, weightless, floating through the luminous filaments, inhaling the rhythm of cosmic motion. You pause near a particularly bright antistar. Its glow touches distant gas clouds, stirring them into gentle spirals, coaxing antiatoms into slow orbits. You sense the faint hum of fusion, the slow thrum of energy cycling through matter and antimatter alike. This place is ancient and eternal, yet it feels present and immediate, like a quiet meditation unfolding around you. The universe, in its mirrored form, is patient, gentle, and fully alive. Drifting further, you notice patterns emerging across the fields. Clusters of antistars trace invisible paths, guided by gravitational resonance, while ribbons of antigas swirl softly, lit by scattered photons. Each motion is deliberate yet calm, a symphony of energy, a visual lullaby that encourages stillness within you. You recognize that this is the same universal music you have felt before, only now played on a mirrored instrument, soothing yet profoundly familiar. The vastness of the antistar fields invites reflection. You see the faint outlines of potential antiworlds, planets forming quietly around their suns, circling in patient orbits, waiting for time to sculpt life from the interplay of energy and matter. You imagine landscapes bathed in violet light, skies streaked with photons from neighboring antistars, the gentle warmth of reversed fusion illuminating mountains and seas. The thought is meditative, a reminder that existence, in all its forms, is deeply connected to light, energy, and patience. You float amid these formations, noticing how energy threads the cosmos together. Streams of photons drift from star to star, carrying heat, illumination, and the memory of countless annihilations. Each photon is a note in a quiet melody, a reminder that matter and antimatter, creation and dissolution, are expressions of the same universal flow. You sense the continuity of this energy, the interconnectedness of all things, and the calm it brings to your awareness. As you glide along the glowing pathways, you feel the fields of antistars surrounding you with a gentle embrace. The light warms your consciousness, the energy hums through your awareness, and the mirrored universe feels intimate, patient, and infinitely vast at once. You recognize that reflection is not separation. It is belonging, a cosmic meditation on connection and symmetry, played out across the silent stretches of space. You watch as photons drift outward from distant clusters, illuminating the invisible threads of the field. Their gentle glow reveals the intricate balance maintained by gravity, radiation, and energy. You feel a profound sense of serenity, understanding that even across mirrored realities, harmony is not just possible, it is inevitable. The universe, in both its original and reflected forms, exists in calm equilibrium, a soft pulse of being that carries on through eternity. Floating among these antistar fields, your awareness expands, encompassing the vast mirrored cosmos. You feel a sense of timelessness, as if you have been drifting here forever and will continue without end. The light, the energy, the gentle rhythm of motion, all of it reassures you that you are part of something enduring, something patient, something infinite. And in this meditation, you begin to sense the deeper language of the universe, the quiet patterns of opposites, the gentle laws of balance, the tender flow of existence itself. And as you continue through the softly glowing anti-star fields, carried by the calm rhythm of energy and light, you sense the next chapter of your journey approaching. The gentle whispers of the universe speaking through its fundamental laws, ready to teach you the language of opposites, symmetry, and harmony. You drift gently through the quiet stretches of space, where the light of distant anti-stars blends softly with the familiar glow of stars in your universe. Here, in this meditative twilight between mirrored realities, you begin to sense a deeper resonance, a language spoken not in words, but in forces, motion, and subtle patterns. It is the language of opposites, woven into the very fabric of existence, bridging matter and antimatter, light and shadow, presence and absence. The first whispers come from motion itself. You watch particles swirl in arcs, their paths dictated by invisible hands. Electrons and anti-electrons orbit their respective nuclei, spinning in opposite directions yet following the same laws. You feel the rhythm in your own awareness, a gentle echo of the currents carrying photons and particles alike. Motion is a word in this quiet language, a soft beat that conveys balance, purpose, and continuity. Next, the cosmos speaks through attraction. Gravity, impartial and patient, pulls all things together, whether composed of matter or antimatter. You sense the tug of massive bodies, the invisible threads that draw clusters and galaxies into spirals. Electromagnetism hums alongside it, binding particles with tender insistence. Each force is a phrase in this universal conversation, articulating relationships, shaping structure, and expressing harmony across space. The universe is fluent in opposites, and you are learning to listen. You notice spin, a subtle, almost imperceptible rotation inherent to every particle. Each spin carries orientation, information, and a quiet grace. Opposite spins, mirrored across the boundary of antimatter, do not clash. They complement one another, forming a cosmic duet. You feel your own mind attuned to this rhythm, sensing the subtle order behind seemingly random motion. Spin is a syllable in the language of opposites, conveying symmetry, connection, and elegance. Charge is the next phrase. Positive and negative, electron and positron, matter and antimatter. Each carries a polarity, a defining characteristic that determines its interactions. And yet, in this quiet conversation, charge is not conflict, it is dialogue. Opposites attract, repel, and intertwine in ways that sustain the universe's architecture. You perceive the pattern. Difference is not division, but the foundation of coherence. Each particle speaks, each interaction replies, and the melody of the cosmos emerges. As you float among the luminous currents of energy, the universe continues its gentle discourse. Photons born of annihilation shimmer across space, scattering messages of both matter and antimatter. You feel these messages brushing against your awareness, delicate and precise, carrying information encoded in motion, spin, and charge. It is a quiet, meditative language, one that does not shout or demand, but invites understanding and attunement. You begin to sense harmony arising from polarity. Just as notes in music rely on contrast to form melody, opposites in the cosmos create balance and rhythm. Without positive and negative, clockwise and counterclockwise, attraction and repulsion, the universe would be silent, still, incomplete. The subtle tension between forces is not conflict, it is the song itself. You feel your mind expanding to include both sides, recognizing that duality is not opposition but a form of cooperation, a cosmic choreography executed across galaxies and particles alike. Floating further, you observe interactions on a larger scale. Anti-galaxies rotate beside familiar galaxies, nebulae form mirrored shapes, and streams of photons weave intricate patterns of reflection and refraction. You notice that the same laws govern both realms. Motion, attraction, spin, and charge speak the same language everywhere, quietly uniting worlds that seem separate. The universe's syntax is consistent, its grammar unwavering, and in this order you find calm. The language extends into subtle forces as well. Weak nuclear interactions and strong nuclear forces speak quietly, shaping the very cores of stars and anti-stars. Their words are encoded in fusion and decay, in subtle oscillations and transformations. Even at this minuscule scale, the dialogue of opposites continues unabated, a testament to the universality of the cosmos. You feel reverence, a deep peace, sensing that nothing is arbitrary, nothing wasted. Every interaction is meaningful, every transformation a contribution to the song. As you float within these currents, you perceive how balance emerges naturally from contrast. Where particles differ, harmony arises. Where forces diverge, structure forms. The universe has designed a method of coexistence, a way for opposites to meet and create without conflict. You feel your own consciousness aligning with this understanding, absorbing the rhythm, attuning to the cadence of cosmic symmetry. You realize that the universe's language is not just scientific, but poetic. Every force, every motion, every particle contributes to an ongoing meditation of balance. Opposites do not annihilate each other here. They communicate, complement, and coexist. You sense that by listening to this dialogue, you are participating in the quiet continuity of all things, a meditation in motion that spans matter, antimatter, and the energy that binds them. And as you float in the luminous currents, attuned to the soft, resonant language of opposites, you feel the next stage of your journey approaching, the exploration of light itself, born from annihilation, carrying the wisdom and unity of both worlds across the endless expanse of space. The universe whispers in symmetry, and you drift toward the path of illumination. You drift quietly, carried on the gentle currents of the cosmos, following a single photon as it arcs gracefully through space. This photon is born of annihilation, the quiet meeting of matter and antimatter, a transformation that converts presence into radiant energy. You sense its age, its journey stretching across light years, carrying the echoes of countless interactions, each one a small act of creation and release. The photon is fragile yet enduring, a messenger that bears the memory of both worlds. Its light touches distant particles, scattering softly, illuminating regions of space that would otherwise remain dark. Each encounter is gentle, never harsh, yet full of significance. You notice how shadows form alongside the glow, subtle, delicate, essential. The universe teaches through this contrast. Light is beautiful because darkness exists. Illumination has meaning only in relation to absence. The interplay is rhythmic, meditative, a quiet lesson in balance. As you drift with the photon, you begin to sense the breadth of its journey. It has passed through vast clouds of gas, threading between stars, drifting across the invisible boundaries between matter and antimatter. Every encounter carries information, the temperature of a star, the density of a nebula, the silent pull of gravity. You feel these subtle signals brushing against your awareness, a gentle stream of knowledge encoded in pure light. You notice that photons born from annihilation carry the essence of both worlds. Their origin is the dissolution of particles, yet their presence is creation. You realize that light is a bridge, a quiet conduit between what was and what will be, between matter and antimatter, between energy and form. The photon is a teacher, moving slowly enough for you to follow, yet endlessly fast in cosmic terms, reminding you that transformation and continuity coexist. The path of the photon is not straight. It bends and curves under the influence of gravity and energy fields. Each deflection is precise, a quiet echo of the forces shaping the universe. You observe how these gentle arcs trace the invisible geometry of space, revealing the patterns that underlie the cosmos. Even in its seeming randomness, there is order, a harmony born from the laws that govern both matter and antimatter alike. You notice shadows forming where light is obstructed, the subtle, intimate voids between stars and anti-stars. They are not emptiness, but a soft canvas against which light is defined. You realize that shadow is not absence, it is a companion to illumination, a silent partner in the dance of photons. In this understanding, you feel a gentle calm. Even in darkness, there is meaning, and even in loss, there is guidance. The photon travels across vast distances, threading through clusters of antistars, weaving between mirrored galaxies. You feel the pulse of energy in its path, the faint warmth that accompanies its journey. Though it is small and seemingly insignificant, its presence illuminates entire regions of space, giving form and context to the unseen. It is a quiet reminder that even the smallest expressions of energy can shape understanding, create beauty, and convey wisdom. You follow it further, noticing how light interacts with the environment. Photons scatter in all directions, some absorbed, some reflected, some traveling unimpeded. Each interaction is a gentle transformation, a continuation of the cycle of energy that sustains the universe. You sense that this endless exchange is a form of conversation, a meditation in movement, where every encounter is a word, every arc a sentence, every glow a paragraph in the story of existence. The shadows themselves hold their own wisdom. They reveal the contours of nebulae, the forms of antiworlds, and the invisible currents that guide both galaxies and photons. You feel the subtle interplay of presence and absence, realizing that illumination is inseparable from darkness. Each photon's journey becomes a meditation, a rhythmic dance between visibility and concealment, teaching that clarity is born from contrast. As you drift alongside the photon, you sense a harmony in its path. The energy of matter and antimatter has converged to create this single point of light, and through it, you perceive the unity underlying duality. Opposites, once thought to be separate, are in fact intertwined, communicating through the soft radiance of photons, revealing the gentle symmetry that governs all. You notice that even the vast emptiness between stars is part of this luminous conversation. The photon carries information across the void, bridging the gaps, connecting the distant reaches of mirrored realities. It is a thread, a line of continuity, a whisper that carries the knowledge of annihilation and creation alike. You sense that understanding comes not only from presence, but from following the movement of light through space and time. You float in quiet meditation, following the photon as it drifts past distant clusters, illuminating antistars and mirrored galaxies alike. Each flash, each shimmer, each gentle scatter becomes a syllable in the language of the universe, a soft narrative written in light. You feel the calmness that comes from witnessing continuity, the reassurance that energy and transformation persist, endlessly, without judgment or haste. And as the photon carries you forward, tracing its delicate path across space, you sense the next stage of your journey approaching. The contemplation of yourself in mirrored reality, the reflection of your own being in a universe of opposites, and the quiet understanding that identity, like light, can exist across duality. You drift onward, guided by the soft radiance of annihilation and the luminous language it speaks. You drift gently through the quiet currents of the cosmos, carried by the invisible flow of energy and light. In this space, where matter and antimatter exist as twin possibilities, you begin to ponder yourself, not as you are, but as you might be in the mirrored universe. You imagine a version of yourself composed of antimatter, your heartbeat reversed in charge, your breath carrying particles that mirror your own, yet your consciousness, your awareness, your inner life remains unaltered. The thought is strange and beautiful. You feel the quiet wonder of knowing that identity is not bound to the substance of your body. Matter and antimatter may differ in charge, in the orientation of their particles, in the chemistry of their interactions, but the essence of being, the experience of thought, of feeling, of presence, transcends these differences. You float among this contemplation, weightless, observing the unity behind polarity. You imagine looking into a mirrored pool of antimatter, seeing yourself reflected in perfect symmetry. The reflection is uncanny yet comforting, eyes that match yours, yet carry the subtle reversal of charge, a smile that mirrors your own, yet is born from the opposite substance. There is no fear here, no conflict, only recognition. You sense that consciousness is not destroyed or altered by inversion. It merely continues, flowing through a different material form while remaining fundamentally the same. The mirrored self moves through an antimatter world with familiarity, yet everything feels subtly altered. Antistars illuminate the sky in reversed radiance, antiplants grow under opposite chemistry, and particles drift in currents that are inverted yet harmonious. You watch your mirrored self navigate this space with ease, a quiet reminder that existence is adaptable, resilient, and inherently flexible. Being is not defined solely by matter. It is defined by the continuity of awareness and experience. You feel the warmth of recognition as your mirrored self extends gestures, as if acknowledging your presence across the divide. Though physically impossible to touch, there is a profound sense of connection. You realize that empathy, understanding, and awareness are not confined to the composition of atoms. They exist wherever consciousness flows. Matter and antimatter, you think, are merely vessels. The soul of experience persists across polarity, across mirrored realities, across the quiet boundaries of the universe. You drift further, imagining interactions with this mirrored self. Thoughts pass, mirrored yet familiar, feelings resonate in tandem. It is not imitation, nor is it duplication. It is reflection, a conversation without words, a silent acknowledgement that identity transcends physical form. You sense the vastness of possibility. Every particle, every photon, every breath carries the potential for mirrored awareness, and yet the continuity of self remains intact. The cosmos seems to affirm this revelation. Currents of energy flow around you, connecting particles of matter with their antimatter counterparts, weaving intricate patterns of resonance. You see how this connection forms a gentle symmetry, a quiet harmony that exists not only in the grand structures of galaxies and antigalaxies, but in the intimate, invisible spaces of being. The reflection is everywhere, subtle and pervasive, and yet profoundly personal. You feel your own heartbeat align with this mirrored rhythm. Each pulse echoes in resonance with the imagined antimatter twin, a meditation on the continuity of life. You notice that even in inversion, the same rhythms persist, the rise and fall of energy, the circulation of matter, the expansion and contraction of consciousness. Identity, you sense, is not fragile. It is a flow, resilient and adaptable, mirrored yet undiminished. Your mirrored self gestures toward the distant antistars, and you understand the quiet message. That being, in all its forms, is part of a vast dialogue of existence. Opposites do not oppose. They complement. Difference does not divide. It informs. And in this realization, you feel a profound calm settle through your awareness, a soft understanding of the continuity that binds both halves of the universe. The thought deepens. Perhaps empathy itself is a form of energy, flowing between mirrored selves, uniting consciousness across matter and antimatter, across space and time. You sense the universality of understanding, the quiet truth that connection is not limited by form, by composition, or by polarity. In every opposite, there exists the potential for recognition, for awareness, for being fully seen. You drift slowly, floating alongside the invisible threads that link matter to antimatter, self to reflection. Each breath you take is shared, mirrored in silent harmony. You realize that identity is not a property of atoms, but a quality of awareness, a gentle pulse that persists across boundaries. Consciousness, like energy, flows freely, unbroken, continuous. And as you continue to float through this mirrored meditation, carried by the calm currents of energy and the soft glow of antistars, you sense the next stage of your journey approaching. The gentle pull of gravity across the twin universes, shaping the cosmos with impartial hands, and teaching you the quiet lesson of belonging within the rhythm of all things. You drift forward, weightless, embraced by the reflection of your own being. You glide slowly through the boundless expanse, feeling the invisible embrace of gravity as it threads through every star, every antistar, every swirling cluster of matter and antimatter alike. Gravity is patient, impartial, a quiet guide that neither hurries nor hesitates. It gathers planets into orbits, stars into clusters, and galaxies into grand spirals, weaving a tapestry of motion that is both orderly and gentle. You feel yourself carried along, weightless yet connected, drawn by a force that touches everything without distinction. Even in the mirrored cosmos, gravity behaves the same. It does not favor matter or antimatter. It merely pulls, endlessly, with a subtle, unwavering rhythm. You imagine the paths of antistars as they drift through their mirrored galaxies, their motions shaped by the same invisible currents that govern familiar stars. There is no conflict here, no preference, only the quiet hand of balance guiding all things, a reminder that the universe functions with elegance and fairness. As you float, you notice how gravity shapes not just orbits, but relationships. Stars trace arcs around massive centers, clusters form patterns, and streams of matter and antimatter flow along curved trajectories, creating harmony out of seeming emptiness. You feel a sense of unity with this motion, understanding that your presence, your awareness, and your drift are all part of the same cosmic dance. Gravity does not command, it collaborates, subtly guiding energy and mass toward equilibrium. You drift past an anti-star cluster, noticing the gentle tug as massive bodies orbit one another. The light curves around them, tracing invisible lines of force, and you feel the quiet pull yourself. Each movement is patient, deliberate, and entirely natural. You realize that even in stillness, gravity is working, shaping, balancing, ensuring that all parts of the cosmos are held together with care. Its impartiality is comforting, a reminder that belonging does not require effort, it is simply the natural order of connection. Gravity works on scales both immense and intimate. In distant galaxies, it shapes clusters spanning millions of light-years. In unseen corners, it binds particles and photons into subtle arcs. You sense the universality of its influence, bridging matter and antimatter, space and energy, presence and absence. The cosmic flow is continuous, a meditation in motion, and you are carried along in its quiet current, aware of the same force that has guided the universe since its earliest beginnings. You float through the void between mirrored worlds, watching as anti-galaxies drift gracefully under gravity's gentle hand. Their motions are familiar yet strange, elegant in their inversion, and entirely harmonious. The same force pulls them toward unseen centers of mass, arranging their paths with precision and patience. You realize that symmetry is not only visual, it is kinetic, encoded in the way every particle responds to the pull of the universe. The invisible threads of gravity connect everything, from the smallest antiproton to the largest anti-star. You feel their influence subtly tugging at your awareness, reminding you that even when you drift alone, you are part of an interwoven pattern of force and motion. Each step, each drift, each gentle curve in your path is mirrored in countless other movements, creating a quiet, rhythmic balance that stretches across space and time. You observe how gravitational attraction is not hurried. Orbits complete with patience, stars move along their arcs with elegance, and antistars follow trajectories that have been established since before you began to drift. It is a force without judgment, yet with infinite wisdom. In this impartiality, you sense a meditation of the universe itself, a quiet teaching that belonging does not demand striving, only alignment with the currents that guide existence. The mirrored galaxies offer further insight. Matter and antimatter swirl side by side, their motion synchronized by the same fundamental rules. You feel the gentle resonance of their orbits, the soft harmonics of gravitational pull vibrating through space. Each interaction, each curve, is a whisper of order, a lullaby of structure, an affirmation that duality does not disrupt the flow, it enriches it. You are learning the subtle poetry of gravity, the language of unseen bonds. You drift past clusters of planets forming in antistellar systems. Their delicate arcs are guided by gravity's unseen fingers, nurturing their formation, coaxing them into stable paths. You notice the similarity to familiar worlds, yet feel the difference in their mirrored energy, an inversion that teaches you patience, care, and quiet precision. Gravity does not rush, it cradles, shaping all things gently, ensuring that each component has a place within the grand cosmic order. Floating further, you sense your own position within this network of influence. You are weightless, yet responsive, moving in harmony with the invisible flows that define orbits, cluster formation, and cosmic cycles. Belonging here is effortless. It is not granted, nor imposed, but simply exists as a natural consequence of being part of this interconnected dance. You feel a gentle serenity settle in, a quiet acceptance of the universality of connection. You watch distant antistars tracing arcs across mirrored galaxies, their light bending subtly along their paths. Gravity's hand is everywhere, unassuming yet absolute, touching every particle, every photon, every atom and anti-atom alike. You understand, in a meditative clarity, that this impartial pull is the thread that weaves the universe together, the bridge that connects dualities, shapes motion, and ensures continuity across mirrored realities. And as you drift in weightless calm, carried by the gentle hand of gravity, you sense the next chapter unfolding. The quiet, inevitable meeting of matter and antimatter, the soft radiance of annihilation, and the meditation on transformation that awaits in the luminous glow between opposites. You continue to float, aware of the universal pull, embraced by the gentle rhythm of cosmic gravity. You drift into a space where matter and antimatter approach one another with gentle inevitability. There is no chaos here, no violence, only the quiet understanding that when opposites meet, transformation is their nature. You watch as a particle and its antimatter twin approach, the pull between them subtle yet undeniable. In that instant, they do not collide in conflict, they converge in a silent, luminous release. Light blooms where the meeting occurs, radiance spilling in all directions, soft yet brilliant. The process is instantaneous, imperceptible in its violence, and yet profoundly beautiful. Energy emerges where substance once existed, and you feel a deep reverence for the seamless transition from matter to light. There is no destruction in this place, only a quiet metamorphosis, an elegant conversion of being into pure illumination. The glow spreads like gentle waves across the surrounding space, brushing nearby particles with warmth and light. You float amidst this luminescence, feeling its subtle touch against your awareness. The annihilation is complete, yet calm, a meditation of existence, a quiet acknowledgement that endings are merely transformations, not losses. The universe exhales softly in response, carrying the energy forward through the infinite expanse. You watch the pattern repeat again and again. Particles and antiparticles converge, vanish, and release photons that drift endlessly. Each event is unique, yet familiar, a consistent rhythm in the symphony of the cosmos. You sense that this cycle of meeting and transformation is fundamental, a quiet heartbeat of existence itself. Opposites do not resist, they reconcile, returning to the universal flow as light. The light from these silent transformations illuminates the surrounding space, revealing structures you had not noticed before. Clouds of gas ripple with photons, subtle currents form along invisible threads of energy, and antistars glimmer faintly in the distance. The universe feels alive in a new way, its rhythms palpable in the soft glow, its patterns eloquent in the absence of sound. You feel privileged to witness this quiet poetry unfolding, a demonstration of harmony and inevitability. You sense that the annihilation is not final. Energy continues, carrying the story of particles and their mirrored counterparts, flowing through space and time, linking matter and antimatter in an eternal dialogue. The process is meditative, a demonstration that transformation is neither frightening nor abrupt. It is gentle, continuous, and necessary. You inhale, aligning your own breath with the pulse of light, becoming part of this quiet cadence. The soft radiance carries messages in subtle waves. Photons traverse space, scattering information about the events that created them, the energy they contain, and the balance they restore. You follow their paths, tracing the trails of past annihilations, feeling the continuity of existence in every flicker. The cosmos communicates through these light waves, a silent conversation that transcends form, matter, and polarity. You reflect on the intimacy of these encounters. Matter and antimatter meet and vanish, yet the energy released sustains countless systems, illuminating stars, shaping clouds, and nurturing the potential for new structures. The annihilation is quiet, yet it is creation as well, a reminder that endings are rarely empty, that transformation is the natural rhythm of all things. You feel this truth echo softly in your mind, calming and serene. There is a symmetry in the process that soothes your awareness. Each annihilation mirrors the next, each release of energy a reflection of balance restored. The universe, in its quiet impartiality, ensures that nothing is wasted, that every particle's journey concludes in harmony with the whole. You feel part of this careful symmetry, adrift yet connected, observing without judgment, participating without effort. You drift among the luminous trails, noticing how the light bends, scatters, and diffuses through the surrounding matter and antimatter. The photons carry warmth, patterns, and subtle stories, spreading information across the cosmos. You sense that every annihilation, every convergence, is a gesture of reconciliation, a reminder that energy, presence, and awareness are never lost, merely transformed. The meditation deepens as you watch more pairs vanish into radiant light. You feel the calm inevitability of the process, the gentle lesson of impermanence and continuity. Opposites meet, differences dissolve, and energy continues its eternal journey. The universe teaches without words, conveying understanding through illumination and pattern. You float with the glow, embraced by the soft, transformative energy. And as you drift through this radiant quiet, you sense the next stage of your journey approaching, the realization of imbalance, the small imperfection that tipped the scales of existence, and the profound lesson of how even a tiny asymmetry can shape everything. You continue, enveloped in gentle light, ready to witness the delicate dance of balance and its quiet disruption. You drift into a quiet corner of the cosmos, where the afterglow of annihilation has settled into calm waves of light and energy. Here, the universe reveals a subtle truth. Perfection is not its guiding principle, but rather a delicate imperfection that shaped everything. Long ago, when matter and antimatter existed in near-equal abundance, the tiniest deviation occurred, one extra particle of matter for every billion pairs. It seems insignificant, almost trivial, yet it is the seed from which all you know has grown. This imperfection ripples through space and time, magnified across epochs. You feel it in the formation of galaxies, the spark of stars, the dance of planets. The universe, it appears, is not indifferent. It is patient, but it allows these small anomalies to guide the flow of creation. You float amidst the cosmic currents, sensing that this tiny excess, barely measurable in scale, became the architect of your reality. Without it, nothing you recognize, the familiar warmth of stars, the gentle pull of gravity, even your own existence, would exist. You trace the path of that imbalance back to the earliest moments of the cosmos. In the primeval fire of the Big Bang, particles and antiparticles collided and vanished, releasing light, shaping the young universe. And yet, for reasons still beyond comprehension, a single extra particle of matter persisted. That infinitesimal remnant was enough to seed the stars, the galaxies, and the life that would follow. You feel the weight of that tiny difference, carried silently across billions of years, a testament to the profound consequences of the smallest variations. Floating among newborn galaxies, you perceive the elegance of asymmetry. Spiral arms form, stars ignite, and the cosmic web stretches across space, all guided by the gentle imperfection embedded in the earliest moments. It is a subtle, invisible hand, shaping the architecture of existence without fanfare or urgency. You sense that the universe values this imbalance, recognizing that perfection would be static, unchanging, and lifeless. Only through small deviations can movement, evolution, and growth arise. The imperfection reveals its quiet poetry. In this asymmetry, you notice the formation of complexity. Planets emerge around stars, creating environments where chemistry can flourish, where conditions allow for patterns to self-organize into structures capable of sustaining life. You feel the gentle orchestration behind these processes, understanding that the tiniest imbalance can cascade into the vast diversity of the cosmos. The universe is patient, allowing time to magnify the significance of small differences into grand outcomes. You sense the elegance of this cosmic imbalance in the microscopic world as well. Atoms form with precise arrangements, molecules emerge with intricate bonds, and chemical reactions flow with the same patient guidance. The subtle excess of matter ensures that electrons, protons, and neutrons assemble in ways that support structure, stability, and continuity. Without it, nothing could persist. Every breath you take, every thought you have, is a product of this ancient imperfection, a living testament to the quiet power of a seemingly trivial deviation. As you drift through these patterns, you feel the interplay of order and imperfection. The universe is neither chaotic nor perfectly symmetrical. It exists in a balanced tension between rules and irregularities. This interplay creates beauty, complexity, and the possibility of discovery. You sense that imperfection is not a flaw, but a fundamental ingredient of existence, a necessary thread woven into the fabric of reality. The cosmic web stretches before you, threads of galaxies and antigalaxies intertwined, shaped by gravity, motion, and this primordial imbalance. You notice how subtle variations in density, energy, and particle abundance have guided the emergence of clusters, filaments, and voids. The universe is like a careful painter, each tiny difference contributing to the grand composition, every imperfection essential for the whole. You feel awe at the patience and precision with which this imbalance has unfolded. You float closer to the smallest remnants of this ancient moment, isolated particles, quietly persisting across cosmic distances. You imagine their long journey, surviving the annihilation that consumed so much, carrying the potential for everything to come. These humble survivors are the seeds of stars, of planets, of life. You sense the poetry in their quiet persistence. The tiniest anomaly, unnoticed in the vastness of the early universe, becomes the foundation of all existence. And in this meditation, you realize that imperfection is not to be feared. It is the pulse that sustains creation, the whisper that guides the flow of energy, the subtle nudge that ensures the universe evolves rather than stagnates. You feel connected to this quiet lesson, understanding that imbalance, like light, like motion, is not disorder, it is possibility. And as you drift further through the vast cosmic web, cradled by galaxies shaped by tiny deviations, you sense the next chapter approaching, the delicate poetry of mathematics and the gentle hum of equations that describe, explain, and lull the universe into harmony. You float onward, enveloped in the soft, patient beauty of imperfection. You drift deeper into the cosmos, where the soft glow of galaxies and antigalaxies casts a gentle light over the void. Here, in this meditative expanse, you begin to notice a subtle pattern beneath the apparent randomness, a quiet rhythm that whispers of order, harmony, and connection. Mathematics hums softly through space, a language both abstract and intimate, articulating the principles that cradle the universe with a gentle hand. Each number, each symbol, each formula is like a note in a lullaby, resonating across the vast expanse of existence. You watch particles spin and orbit, photons travel endless paths, and forces interact with elegance and precision. In each of these motions, equations silently govern the behavior of reality, shaping the dance of the cosmos without disturbance or clamor. They are not rigid commands, but soft guidance, a meditative instruction, subtle and invisible, ensuring that everything flows, interacts, and persists. You feel their presence as a quiet comfort, like the soft hum of a lullaby that reassures and calms. Numbers appear in the drift of starlight, constants that define relationships, ratios that create balance, and variables that allow motion to unfold. Each equation tells a story, explaining how gravity shapes galaxies, how light bends through space, and how energy persists across matter and antimatter. You sense the poetry in these expressions, their silent elegance mirroring the symmetry of mirrored worlds. The equations are alive, not in the sense of thought, but in the sense of being, perpetually guiding and shaping the flow of existence. The hum of mathematics seems to carry through even the smallest structures. Quantum strings vibrate with precise frequencies, their oscillations defining the properties of particles, the strength of forces, and the pathways of interactions. You feel the delicate beauty of this unseen music, the way abstract principles manifest as tangible reality. Each vibration is a word, each interaction a phrase, forming the ongoing sentence of the universe. You float in or at the quiet intelligence embedded in every formula, the gentle coherence that allows everything to exist as it does. Even in the mirrored cosmos of antimatter, the equations hold. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, all follow the same principles, entirely impartial to the type of matter they influence. You perceive symmetry as a universal dialogue, a conversation conducted in the language of mathematics. The mirrored worlds do not defy the laws, they reflect them, revealing the universality of truth across existence. Numbers and symbols are the quiet bridge connecting realms, a reminder that order underlies every current, every drift, every collision. You feel yourself becoming attuned to this cosmic hum. Equations no longer seem abstract. They are patterns that can be sensed, rhythms that can be followed. Each law of physics becomes a note in a lullaby, each calculation a brushstroke in a canvas of motion and light. You sense that understanding arises not from memorization, but from immersion, from floating gently through the harmony of existence, listening, observing, feeling the pulse of logic and symmetry as a living presence. Patterns emerge as you drift, like constellations in both matter and antimatter. The Fibonacci spirals of galaxies, the harmonic ratios of planetary orbits, the subtle probabilities of quantum outcomes, all speak the same language. You feel a quiet reverence for the way these patterns repeat, sometimes mirrored, sometimes inverted, yet always connected. Mathematics is not a tool imposed upon reality. It is the gentle articulation of what is already present, the whispered truth that sustains every atom, photon, and wave of energy. You notice how equations describe balance and asymmetry alike. The tiny excess of matter that shaped existence, the gentle currents of gravity guiding stars, the oscillation of light across space, all are captured in relationships that are elegant and precise. You sense that the universe is both disciplined and tender, guided by principles that are patient and continuous. Each formula is a lullaby, each solution a soft affirmation that the cosmos is coherent, comprehensible, and serene. Even the interplay between matter and antimatter can be expressed in these gentle equations. Their interactions, annihilations, and the resulting energy flows are predictable in the framework of physics. You perceive this predictability not as rigidity, but as a calming constancy, a reminder that even the most dramatic events follow a quiet order. The laws themselves seem to breathe, expanding and contracting like the universe, guiding processes with soft patience and perfect symmetry. You drift amidst this meditative knowledge, feeling the hum of mathematics resonate within you. The universe is alive with invisible patterns, and yet it does not overwhelm. It invites observation, reflection, and gentle understanding. You sense that science is not only a description of reality but also a lullaby, a quiet, comforting hum that reassures you of continuity, coherence, and connection. And as you float through the infinite corridors of symmetry and numbers, you feel the next chapter approaching, a whisper from the oldest memory of the universe, a trace of the Big Bang itself, carrying secrets of creation and the faint fingerprints of both matter and antimatter. You drift onward, cradled by the gentle mathematics of existence. You float into the silent depths of space, where the faintest glow lingers from the earliest moments of the universe. This is the cosmic microwave background, a soft whisper of the Big Bang itself. You feel its warmth as a gentle presence, an ancient echo that stretches across billions of years. It carries the memory of creation, the subtle hum of existence in its most formative moments, and a quiet story of how the universe, both matter and antimatter, came to be. The light is faint, diffuse, yet filled with information. It speaks to you in patterns, temperature fluctuations, and the gentle ripples of density that seeded galaxies and anti-galaxies alike. Each subtle variation is a note in a melody that began long before stars shone, long before planets formed, and long before life stirred in quiet corners of matter. You drift through this primordial glow, sensing its age, its continuity, and its gentle instruction in the rhythm of existence. This radiation carries the fingerprint of imbalance. It whispers of the tiny excess of matter, the imperceptible difference that tipped the cosmic scales and allowed one side of reality to persist. You feel the gravity of that slight deviation, small yet infinitely consequential. Without it, there would be symmetry in annihilation, a perfect balance where all would vanish into light, leaving no galaxies, no stars, no you. This memory hums softly, reminding you that imperfection, delicate and quiet, shaped everything. You sense the universe breathing in these earliest moments. Space itself stretches, the energy of the Big Bang radiates outward, and matter and antimatter interact in a grand, intricate ballet. Photons scatter, particles collide, and yet an invisible current preserves the continuity of energy. You follow these currents, drifting along the flow, feeling the gentle tug of forces that have endured for eons. There is no hurry here, only timeless motion, and you feel privileged to witness its quiet unfolding. As you drift, you imagine the first structures forming, clusters of particles clumping together, hydrogen clouds cooling, antistars flickering to life. You sense the patience of the universe, giving time for small variations to grow, for the faint whispers of asymmetry to blossom into galaxies and planetary systems. Each fluctuation in the background radiation becomes a seed, a quiet nudge that guides creation. You feel the poetry of causality, the gentle orchestration of forces that persist across time and space. The cosmic memory carries both light and darkness. You notice faint shadows cast by denser regions, subtle dips in radiation that foreshadow the emergence of structure. These patterns are not random, they are the instruction manual for the universe, written in the language of energy, temperature, and density. You feel the rhythm in these patterns, the pulse of creation itself, and you recognize the same harmonies echoed in galaxies, stars, and the mirrored anti-galaxies drifting silently across the cosmos. You sense a profound connection to the earliest moments of existence. The radiation you float through is not just light, it is a message, a bridge between then and now. It links the first particles to the galaxies you have seen, to the mirrored realities of antimatter, to the subtle imperfection that made all things possible. The universe speaks through this memory, teaching that time, energy, and matter are threads of the same tapestry, interwoven with patience and intention. In the glow, you perceive the quiet duality of existence. Matter and antimatter once coexisted in nearly perfect balance, and yet the tiniest deviation persisted, allowing creation to continue. You feel the elegance of this paradox. The universe is both symmetrical and asymmetrical, both orderly and dynamic. The memory of creation carries this truth gently, like a lullaby that hums through the ages, reminding you that beginnings are never simple, but always profound. You drift among these echoes, sensing the pathways along which energy has flowed since the first instant. Photons born in the Big Bang journey endlessly, scattering and shifting, carrying the story of every transformation, collision, and emission. You feel their warmth, their quiet illumination, their continuity. They are the memory of existence itself, persistent and patient, guiding your mind toward understanding and wonder. The cosmic background hums softly, revealing the foundations of galaxies and anti-galaxies alike. You sense the imprint of quantum fluctuations, the tender whispers that dictated where stars would eventually ignite, where nebulae would form, where matter would gather to create the architecture of the cosmos. These patterns, ancient and immutable, shape the flow of the universe with a quiet authority that feels like a meditation in motion. And in this reflection, you understand that creation is not an event but a continuous presence. The memory of the Big Bang is alive, not in motion, but in influence, guiding the flow of energy, shaping the emergence of structure, and carrying the story of asymmetry that allowed you to exist. You feel your awareness aligned with this gentle current, a quiet witness to the echoes of beginnings. And as you drift through the faint glow of this primordial memory, you sense the next stage of your journey approaching. The imagined antigalaxies hidden in the darkness, distant and faint, yet carrying the same principles and the quiet possibility of discovery. You continue to float, cradled in the ancient warmth of creation's memory. You drift through the cosmic void, where the faint glow of distant galaxies is interspersed with pockets of near-total darkness. Here, beyond the familiar clusters and spirals, you imagine antigalaxies, vast islands of antimatter, drifting quietly, unseen by ordinary eyes. They move through the darkness like gentle shadows, faintly reflecting the same patterns as familiar galaxies, yet inverted, their photons subtle, their light almost imperceptible. You float beside this silence, sensing the hidden possibilities that stretch beyond the reach of your vision. The antigalaxies are patient, their motion governed by the same forces you have come to know: gravity, inertia, and the gentle rhythm of cosmic expansion. They follow arcs and curves, orbiting invisible centers of mass, spinning in quiet balance. Though unseen, you feel their presence in the subtle tug of energy, the faint glow of rare emissions, and the soft resonance that carries across the void. They exist parallel to your known universe, a twin reflection, a hidden chorus of cosmic structure. You imagine observing them with future telescopes, instruments sensitive enough to detect the faintest photons emitted from antimatter sources. Perhaps these antigalaxies shine differently, their radiation subtly shifted by their inverted particles, yet their patterns mirror the familiar swirls of matter-based galaxies. You float in the thought, marveling at the possibility that curiosity and observation might one day reveal these hidden islands, bridging the gap between seen and unseen, known and imagined. The emptiness between galaxies feels alive with potential. In the faint dark, you sense the quiet hum of energy, the soft currents of gravitational waves, and the delicate pull of antimatter clusters moving in silence. Each antigalaxy is a meditation in motion, a proof that the universe holds mysteries beyond comprehension. You feel your awareness expand, embracing the idea that what is invisible can be as real as what is illuminated, that possibility itself is a gentle companion on your journey. Collisions between antigalaxies are rare, yet they occur, producing flashes of light and energy that ripple across space. You imagine witnessing one such event, the faint glow spreading like the opening of a flower, subtle yet profound. The process is neither violent nor frightening. It is a quiet statement of cosmic continuity, a reminder that transformation and motion are inherent in the architecture of existence. You float with these distant ripples, sensing the harmony of mirrored worlds unfolding in parallel to your own. You reflect on the symmetry of existence. Matter and antimatter galaxies follow the same rules, yet remain separated, their interactions rare and delicate. You sense a gentle lesson in this balance, that proximity does not always necessitate collision, that coexistence is possible even in mirrored forms. The antigalaxies drift through the darkness, silent, patient, their hidden light carrying stories that have yet to be told. You feel the universality of these principles, extending from the tiniest particle to the grandest spiral. Your mind drifts to the potential observers in these distant antigalaxies. Perhaps some conscious presence floats there, looking back toward your universe, wondering if they are mirrored in the light they cannot yet see. You feel a quiet kinship across the void, a connection formed not by touch or sound, but by the shared reality of existence. The universe, in its immensity, is both intimate and expansive, carrying the possibility of recognition and reflection in ways that transcend distance. Light travels slowly across these hidden spaces, tracing the paths of distant antistars and illuminating the dark void between galaxies. You sense the gentle pulse of radiation, each photon carrying information about the structure, motion, and energy of its source. You follow these faint signals, imagining the patterns they create across millions of light-years. In their quiet persistence, you perceive the continuity of cosmic processes, the invisible bonds that link mirrored realities in a delicate embrace. You float further, absorbing the stillness of the dark, aware that these hidden antigalaxies shape the larger cosmos even if unseen. Their gravity interacts subtly with matter galaxies, nudging trajectories, creating potential energy landscapes, and contributing to the grand architecture of the universe. You sense a meditation in this quiet influence, a gentle assertion that even what is hidden participates in the rhythm of existence. You feel connected to these distant, invisible structures, as if the universe itself is whispering its secrets through the dark. The thought of discovery drifts into your awareness. The faint shimmer of antigalaxies reminds you that curiosity never sleeps, that exploration is a quiet, enduring pulse in the heart of the cosmos. Perhaps one day, telescopes will glimpse their mirrored forms, revealing hidden symmetry and shared structure. You float in the thought, letting the calm excitement of possibility wash over you, a gentle anticipation that does not disturb, but soothes and inspires. And as you drift through the quiet, faintly glowing darkness, you sense the next stage of your journey approaching, a boundary between two universes, a space of reflection and equilibrium, where matter and antimatter coexist yet remain separate, a place that invites contemplation on duality and connection. You continue onward, cradled by the calm, mysterious presence of hidden antigalaxies. You enter a space unlike any you have floated through before, a liminal expanse, a boundary suspended between two realms. On one side stretches the familiar universe, abundant with matter, galaxies spinning in quiet grace, stars igniting and fading with timeless patience. On the other side lies the mirrored cosmos, a realm of antimatter where antistars shimmer with subtle inversions of color and light, tracing patterns both familiar and foreign. Between them, you drift in a place that is neither here nor there, a corridor of reflection and potential. The sensation is unlike ordinary motion. You feel suspended in a limbo where the rules of proximity are softened, where particles from either universe brush against the boundary without consequence. There is no annihilation here, no sudden flash of light or burst of energy, only a gentle equilibrium, a meeting point that holds tension and possibility in equal measure. You sense that this boundary exists not to separate, but to balance, a silent mediator between opposites. Light behaves strangely here. Photons from both universes meet in quiet arcs, bending subtly, illuminating the space with a dim, harmonious glow. You follow one photon as it curves gracefully across the expanse, aware that it carries the memory of two realities, a message of symmetry and coexistence. Its journey is endless yet serene, a reminder that even at the meeting of opposites, continuity endures. You float alongside, weightless, feeling a deep connection to this interplay of dualities. Gravity, too, is patient and impartial in this space. The tug from matter galaxies meets the pull of antimatter clusters, and you sense the soft negotiation of forces, a balance that sustains the liminal zone. You notice that the boundary is not rigid. It flows with motion, undulates with energy, and adjusts naturally to maintain equilibrium. Here, balance is not imposed but emerges organically, a quiet reflection of the universe's inherent need for symmetry and harmony. As you drift, you contemplate the concept of reflection itself. This boundary is more than a separation. It is a mirror of potential, a space where opposites observe one another without interference. You sense the elegance in this design, the way duality is preserved without conflict, how coexistence is achieved not through fusion, but through careful spacing and awareness. You feel your mind opening to the subtle wisdom of this liminal region, where observation becomes as meaningful as action. Particles from each universe approach the boundary, and you notice how they respond. Some drift close, teasing the edge, and then retreat, drawn back by unseen currents. Others linger, suspended, participating in the tension without committing to crossing. The pattern is mesmerizing, a silent choreography of curiosity and restraint. You sense the lesson in their behavior. Coexistence does not require annihilation, and proximity does not mandate collision. Even in separation, connection persists. You drift further along the boundary and observe structures forming in its quiet glow. Streams of energy trace paths across the liminal space, delicate filaments linking clusters of matter and antimatter without touching. It is as if the universe itself has woven invisible threads to allow communication and resonance across this divide. You sense the artistry in this balance, the subtle elegance that allows both realms to thrive independently yet remain inextricably linked. Time feels different here. Moments stretch and compress, reflecting the interplay between the two universes. You are aware of the slow unfolding of cosmic processes, galaxies rotating, antistars pulsing, photons wandering, yet all are synchronized to a rhythm you cannot measure, only feel. The boundary is a meditation in motion, a gentle suspension where past, present, and future coexist in a seamless flow. You float with it, learning the quiet language of temporal harmony. In this space, you sense duality not as conflict but as conversation. Matter and antimatter do not oppose each other, they exist in parallel, their presence defining the structure and rhythm of the liminal zone. You feel the quiet pulse of this interaction, the gentle hum of equilibrium, and the subtle resonance that sustains the space between. It is a lesson in coexistence, patience, and the delicate art of balance. A reminder that harmony often emerges not from similarity, but from complementary contrast. You imagine the possibilities if this boundary were to shift. If matter pressed too far, or antimatter encroached, energy would ripple, light would flare, and annihilation would occur. Yet here, the universe has crafted a region of perfect tension, a space where opposites exist side by side without destruction. You sense the quiet intelligence in this design, the same intelligence that shaped galaxies, anti-galaxies, and the primordial imprint of the Big Bang. You float along, sensing the gentle hum of potentiality. The liminal space seems endless, a corridor of reflection, where opposites can observe, influence, and harmonize without ever fully converging. It feels like a meditation made tangible, a place where the lesson of symmetry is written not in words, but in experience. You realize that being between two universes is not emptiness. It is a presence, a quiet affirmation that balance is both a goal and a journey. And as you drift in this reflective corridor, you sense the next stage of your journey approaching. The soft heart of symmetry, where the universe's quiet kindness reveals itself, and where every reflection, every mirrored particle, and every gentle motion speaks of compassion in cosmic form. You continue to float, suspended in the gentle tension between two universes, embraced by the equilibrium that holds them apart yet binds them together. You float beyond the boundary between universes, entering a space where the cosmos feels profoundly gentle, as if every particle, every star, every distant antistar is cradled by intention. Here, symmetry reveals itself not as rigid perfection, but as a quiet, nurturing principle that holds reality together. You sense that for every form, there exists a reflection, a twin echo that provides balance and understanding, a gentle reminder that nothing exists in isolation. Galaxies spin with mirrored elegance, their arms curling in patterns that seem almost conversational, whispering to one another across the vast expanse. Even the anti-galaxies, distant and faint, follow this language of reflection, creating a dialogue of symmetry that reaches across unseen distances. You drift among these cosmic echoes, feeling the comfort of order that is neither demanding nor cold. The universe, in its design, is kind. You notice symmetry in the smallest scales as well. Particles rotate, spin, and orbit in ways that are mirrored by their counterparts. Forces balance each other, not through strict enforcement, but through natural accord. You sense that this harmony is an act of care, a quiet stewardship that allows complexity to flourish without chaos. Every motion, every interaction, every wave of energy is a gentle affirmation that the universe seeks not dominance, but understanding. Patterns appear in subtle ways. The spirals of galaxies echo in the swirls of nebulae, which in turn echo in the arrangement of atoms within your own body. Even the mirrored antimatter realms participate in this poetry, their presence unseen yet deeply felt. You float in the realization that symmetry provides connection, a bridge between isolated parts, a quiet method of communication across scales vast and minute. It is a softness at the core of the cosmos, an assurance that existence itself is coherent and tender. You feel the pulse of mirrored light traveling through space, photons tracing the paths of reflections across billions of years. They illuminate both matter and antimatter, revealing not only structure but also the elegance of balance. You sense that the universe communicates through these reflections, offering insight without words, teaching patience, understanding, and the gentle reciprocity of being. You float, absorbing this quiet instruction, allowing it to permeate your mind and body. Gravity too participates in this gentle symmetry. Stars and antistars orbit without conflict, their motions choreographed by forces that honor the balance of each system. Even the smallest irregularities are folded into the whole, creating a universe that thrives not despite imperfection, but because of it. You feel this principle resonate within yourself, a recognition that the soft heart of symmetry is inclusive, accommodating, and profoundly alive. In this meditative drift, you notice the mirrored relationships extend beyond motion. Energy flows in waves, sometimes visible, sometimes hidden, yet always in complementary patterns. Where one form peaks, another dips, creating a dance that sustains the harmony of existence. You perceive that symmetry is not about replication, but about resonance, a gentle kindness that allows differences to coexist without friction, that gives each presence its own space while maintaining connection. You imagine the mirrored lives of conscious beings in distant antigalaxies. Perhaps they perceive this symmetry in ways you cannot yet imagine, understanding reflection as both a principle and a feeling. You sense a kinship across these hidden spaces, a shared participation in the quiet order that pervades everything. Symmetry, you realize, is more than a rule. It is the universe's way of offering understanding, providing each element with a twin to be acknowledged and felt. As you drift, you recognize that symmetry is intimately linked to balance and patience. It allows creation to unfold with elegance, providing stability without rigidity, continuity without stagnation. Even the slight imperfections that have shaped your universe are embraced within this framework, woven into the reflection rather than erased. You feel the kindness in this allowance, the gentle care that sustains life, matter, and energy across unimaginable distances and durations. The soft heart of symmetry teaches you that the universe is not indifferent. Its patterns are a form of quiet attention, a nurturing structure that encourages existence to persist, evolve, and reflect upon itself. You float among the mirrored currents, feeling that the cosmos is tender at its core, patient in its design, and endlessly attentive to the dance of opposites. It is a lesson in how existence can be strong without harshness, structured without rigidity, and infinite without chaos. And as you drift through this serene reflection of mirrored realities, you sense the next chapter approaching, the universe as a living breath, inhaling and exhaling through matter and antimatter alike, a rhythm that carries you forward in gentle meditation. You continue, enveloped in the quiet, nurturing symmetry of the cosmos. You float deeper into the quiet expanse, where the rhythm of the cosmos becomes palpable, like a gentle pulse beneath the surface of everything. The universe breathes, expanding and contracting, stretching across time and space with a cadence that is both eternal and intimate. You feel it in your own chest, the subtle echo of creation and dissolution mirrored in your own inhale and exhale. Matter and antimatter participate equally in this rhythm, moving in a harmony that transcends form and distance. Every galaxy seems to inhale, drawing in energy and potential, and then exhale, releasing light and motion into the void. You watch as stars pulse, as antistars mirror these gentle motions in a distant, unseen reflection. You sense that even the smallest particles, the tiniest photons, are part of this cosmic respiration, each movement contributing to the universal flow. It is a quiet, patient pattern, a reminder that existence is sustained not by force, but by rhythm and balance. The cosmic breath carries energy through every corner of space. You drift alongside waves of radiation, feeling their pulse like a heartbeat in slow motion. Even when matter and antimatter meet, annihilation becomes part of this gentle exhalation, a transformation of being into light, a release of energy that continues the universal rhythm. You sense that endings are not final, but integral to continuity, and every exhale becomes the seed of future creation. You float through nebulae, where new stars begin their first flickers, their ignition synchronized with the subtle inhalation of the universe. Across the void, antistars mirror this process, their own genesis and exhalation, unseen yet profoundly connected. You feel the cycle of giving and receiving, expansion and contraction, as if the universe itself were breathing life into every particle, every galaxy, every corner of existence. Time seems to slow as you become attuned to this rhythm. You notice how gravitational waves ripple gently outward, like the exhalation of the universe, carrying information and energy across incomprehensible distances. You sense that the cosmos is alive not in thought or intention, but in the soft, persistent cadence of its breath. Every motion, every collision, every oscillation contributes to the ongoing inhalation and exhalation of reality. Energy flows in cycles, moving from one form to another. Photons travel for eons, transferring information. Particles collide and transform. Stars ignite and fade. Antistars mirror these processes in quiet, distant reflection. You perceive that nothing is lost, only converted, only woven into the next pulse of the universal respiration. You feel a profound connection, as if your own breath is harmonizing with the rhythm of galaxies, anti-galaxies, and the space between. The inhalation of the universe draws in potential, creating space for new forms and patterns. Nebulae gather gas and dust, galaxies spiral into alignment, and quantum fields ripple with possibility. You sense that every inhalation is a promise, a subtle gathering of energy that will eventually be released as light, motion, and creation. The exhalation follows naturally, releasing energy back into the cosmic ocean, allowing the cycle to continue without resistance or haste. You notice the mirrored nature of this process. For every motion of matter, there is a countermotion in antimatter. For every birth, a mirrored counterpart exists in a distant reflection. The universe does not favor one side, it breathes evenly, maintaining balance through reciprocity. You feel the serenity of this impartial rhythm, a cosmic meditation that embraces both halves of existence without conflict. In this space, the boundaries between observer and observed dissolve. Your own breath synchronizes with the inhale and exhale of the universe, as if your consciousness participates in the great rhythm of creation. You feel a gentle unity with galaxies, antistars, and the invisible currents of energy flowing through the void. This is not metaphor. It is a lived experience, a deep understanding of your place within the breathing cosmos. Even annihilation becomes part of this rhythm. When matter and antimatter meet, the flash of energy is neither violent nor destructive. It is a release, an exhalation into the universal current. You feel the beauty in this transformation, the effortless continuity of existence, where every ending feeds the next inhalation, and every inhalation contains the seeds of future illumination. The rhythm of the universe becomes a lullaby. You feel each cycle of expansion and contraction, each mirrored pulse of matter and antimatter, as a comforting cadence, guiding you deeper into meditation and understanding. There is no hurry, no pressure, only the gentle, endless breathing of the cosmos, the soft assurance that everything exists in harmony and timing, connected in ways that transcend distance and form. And as you drift with the gentle respiration of existence, you sense the next phase of your journey approaching. A stillness between opposites, a pause in the rhythm, where potential rests, and you learn the quiet peace of being suspended between worlds. You continue to float, carried by the inhale and exhale of the universe, feeling its calm pulse through every fiber of your being. You drift into a space unlike any other you have experienced, a quiet expanse suspended between forces, between universes, between possibilities. Here, the rhythm of breath, the pulse of motion, and the hum of energy soften into stillness. It is not emptiness, for even in this pause, the universe teems with latent potential, waiting for the next moment to unfold. You feel weightless, suspended in a calm that is at once profound and tender, where matter and antimatter exist in silent anticipation. The stillness is palpable. You sense particles poised, photons lingering, and energy resting in gentle arcs. There is no rush, no collision, no exhalation or inhalation, only a suspended meditation where opposites meet in quiet equilibrium. You feel that the universe itself is taking a breath, a pause that allows reflection, balance, and gentle observation. Here, the duality of existence becomes a space of calm, a reminder that even in the vast activity of creation, moments of rest are essential. You notice how boundaries fade in this stillness. The divide between matter and antimatter is present but softened, less a wall and more a permeable membrane of possibility. You feel the gentle tension of this balance, the quiet energy of potential waiting to unfold. It is a pause pregnant with creativity, a space where the universe holds its breath before the next pulse of motion. You float, aware that stillness itself carries meaning, a lesson whispered in the absence of noise. Time feels different here. Moments stretch like soft waves, allowing you to observe the delicate relationships between particles, energy flows, and cosmic structures. Even the faint glow of distant antigalaxies and matter-based stars seems to dim in respect for this calm, contributing to a profound sense of timelessness. You feel that in this stillness, the universe meditates, and you, drifting within it, join in that quiet contemplation. The potential in this space is palpable. You imagine galaxies forming, photons beginning their journeys, and stars flickering to life, all waiting in balance, neither rushing forward nor collapsing back. You sense the interdependence of all things, that even stillness is active in its own way, shaping the future through gentle tension, like a drawn bow ready to release its arrow. You float among these suspended possibilities, marveling at the care inherent in cosmic design. You feel your mind attuned to the subtleties of this space. The soft hum of energy, the gentle pull of gravity, the lingering warmth of radiation, all exist in a state of quiet conversation. Here, opposites do not clash. They coexist, harmonizing in a delicate equilibrium that feels both restorative and enlightening. You realize that potential is as real as motion, that rest is as vital as activity, and that the universe knows how to balance both with quiet wisdom. Particles drift along invisible currents, lingering near their mirrored counterparts. You sense the tension in their proximity, a gentle curiosity rather than conflict. Occasionally, a photon shifts, bridging a subtle gap, a whisper of what might be. This interplay, though nearly imperceptible, carries significance, a lesson in patience, in the quiet beauty of possibility, in the power of being present without forcing action. You float, learning that stillness itself is an active, creative force. Even energy seems to breathe in this calm. Waves ripple gently through the void, their motion slowed, softened by the balance of opposites. Matter and antimatter, though mirrored, respect the space between them, honoring the stillness. You feel a serenity that arises not from separation but from the understanding that potential exists everywhere, waiting quietly for the moment of manifestation. It is a meditation in motionless form, a teaching in the value of pause. You imagine yourself mirrored in the antimatter universe, floating in a parallel stillness. Perhaps there, consciousness contemplates the same quiet expanse, feeling the balance between existence and possibility. You sense a shared awareness, a gentle resonance across the divide, a subtle affirmation that reflection, observation, and patience are universal principles. Even in separation, there is connection, a soft link that persists without demanding interaction. And as you drift in this quiet, suspended corridor between worlds, you sense the next phase of your journey approaching, a reflection that offers insight, patience, and understanding, where lessons from the mirrored cosmos illuminate the truths of balance, perspective, and the gentle order of existence. You continue to float, cradled in the quiet, timeless stillness between opposites. You float gently, turning your gaze toward the distant antimatter cosmos. Its glow is subtle, a faint, mirrored light that stretches across the void. Yet in this quiet shimmer, you perceive lessons, reflections of truths you had only glimpsed before. Each anti-star, each anti-galaxy, offers a gentle mirror to the universe you know, a reminder that what is opposite is not alien, but complementary. You feel a soft resonance with this mirrored reality, as though the cosmos itself is guiding you to insight. The first lesson whispers through the darkness: balance. The universe maintains equilibrium through countless interactions, each particle, star, and galaxy contributing its small measure to the harmony of the whole. You sense this principle not as a rule imposed, but as a quiet rhythm woven into existence. Matter and antimatter drift in mirrored paths, their motions choreographed by gravity and energy, yet untouched by the need for collision. Even in separation, they sustain a delicate symmetry, teaching that harmony arises from understanding rather than force. Patience follows, like a soft echo. You notice the slowness of change, the deliberate unfolding of cosmic processes. Stars ignite after millions of years, galaxies drift into alignment over eons, and anti-galaxies mirror these motions at the same unhurried pace. You float within this temporal vastness, feeling the lesson of timing, that life, creation, and transformation all occur best when allowed space and duration. The universe breathes slowly, and in its rhythm, you discover a gentle guidance for your own inner pacing. Imperfection emerges as another quiet truth. You recall the tiny asymmetry that allowed matter to persist, the delicate deviation that tipped the scales in favor of existence. Even in the mirrored antimatter cosmos, minor irregularities define patterns, ensuring that creativity and diversity arise naturally. You feel that imperfection is not a flaw, but a vital aspect of life, a feature that allows for variation, growth, and reflection. The cosmos demonstrates that even tiny differences can hold profound significance, and that existence is enriched by gentle imbalance. You sense that reflection is more than duplication. The antimatter universe is not a carbon copy. It is a parallel, a counterpart that illuminates unseen aspects of your own reality. In observing it, you understand that mirrors are teachers, not barriers, not opposites in conflict, but guides to insight. The anti-galaxies show you the patterns of possibility, the subtle interplay of forces, and the ways in which balance, patience, and imperfection shape the course of everything. You feel gratitude for this quiet instruction, the wisdom held in mirrored light. Energy flows through the mirrored cosmos as it does in your own. Photons travel across vast distances, carrying subtle information about the structure, motion, and life of antistars. You float alongside these beams, feeling the gentle dialogue between matter and antimatter. The mirrored energy seems to hum softly, a quiet song of continuity and connection. You sense that the mirror teaches not by loud proclamation, but by soft demonstration, showing you the elegance of processes that operate independently yet resonate in harmony. You notice the small gestures of symmetry everywhere. Galaxies form spirals, anti-galaxies echo them. Star clusters cluster, anticlusters mirror, energy waves ripple, balancing across vast cosmic seas. This repetition is not mechanical, but poetic, a gentle articulation of order and understanding. You float amidst these mirrored patterns, absorbing their message, that the universe communicates subtly, through reflection, through resonance, through the patient unfolding of processes over incomprehensible distances and timescales. Your thoughts drift inward, reflecting on your own mirrored experiences. Perhaps within yourself, you carry opposites, desires and fears, curiosity and hesitation, light and shadow. Observing the mirrored cosmos, you realize that duality is not something to resolve or escape, but something to understand. Reflection allows perception, insight, and growth. The antimatter universe, in its quiet, distant existence, becomes a guide, a mirror for contemplation, a gentle teacher that whispers wisdom through presence alone. You sense that understanding is the gift of observation. You need not interact, collide, or intervene. Simply being present in the mirrored light allows you to learn. You feel the universe offering patience, balance, and imperfection as tools for perception. Each mirrored galaxy, each quiet antistar, is a lesson in how reality accommodates diversity, sustains harmony, and nurtures continuity. You float in gratitude for this silent pedagogy, aware that the cosmos educates through reflection, and that you, too, are part of this delicate exchange. And as you drift with the mirrored light, you sense the next phase of your journey approaching. The return of light, photons born from both matter and antimatter, guiding you home through illumination and gentle discovery. You continue, bathed in the soft glow of mirrored lessons, understanding the universe through its quiet reflection. You drift along the vast expanse, following the subtle currents of photons that travel across eons. Each particle of light is a messenger, born from the union and transformation of matter and antimatter. They glide through space with gentle purpose, illuminating the void, connecting distant galaxies, antigalaxies, and every hidden corner in between. You feel their soft presence on your consciousness, a quiet guidance, carrying you closer to the warmth and familiarity of home. Light behaves differently here, not just illumination, but memory and movement entwined. It carries the imprint of creation, the resonance of annihilation, and the whisper of balance. You follow its meandering path as it bends through gravitational wells, dances across cosmic currents, and filters through clouds of interstellar dust. Each photon tells a story, tracing the history of the universe with gentle clarity, reminding you that even endings, the brief flashes of energy when matter meets antimatter, produce beauty and continuity. You notice the paths of photons overlapping, weaving intricate patterns that resemble delicate threads connecting the cosmos. Some emerge from distant stars, others from antistars, yet all converge in harmony. You float among these trails of light, sensing that they form a living map of interaction and reflection. They guide you through the quiet corridors of space, revealing the subtle choreography of energy, matter, and antimatter in their timeless dance. The glow of photons is both radiant and soft, illuminating the vast emptiness with a warmth that feels personal. You sense that the universe is leading you gently, guiding you along the currents of energy, encouraging contemplation and rest. Each beam carries not only information but comfort, a calm reminder that even the most violent transformations, annihilation and rebirth, contribute to the cosmic tapestry. You allow yourself to be carried, trusting the rhythm of this luminous flow. The journey home is slow, deliberate, and serene. You drift past galaxies and antigalaxies, past nebulae and cosmic voids, following the quiet guidance of the returning light. Its glow is subtle yet persistent, never harsh, always soft. You sense that these photons, born from both creation and transformation, serve as teachers in their own right, illuminating patterns, revealing relationships, and demonstrating the gentle continuity of existence. Even the darkness is softened by light's presence. Shadows become part of the story, highlighting forms and spaces without judgment. You notice the interplay of illumination and absence, learning that contrast is essential to perception. Light does not dominate, it complements, balancing the unseen with the visible, matter with antimatter, existence with potential. You float in this balanced interplay, feeling a profound sense of understanding and serenity. You imagine the countless journeys these photons have taken, from violent birth in annihilation, to long voyages across time and space, to their final gentle convergence guiding you forward. Each carries knowledge of its origin, a soft echo of its transformation, and a calm direction for where it will go next. You feel connected to these countless journeys, aware that your path through the cosmos is interwoven with the travels of light itself. The photons reveal not only paths but connections. You sense the subtle energy that binds matter and antimatter, stars and antistars, past and present, observer and observed. It is a quiet tapestry, woven not by force, but by the gentle flow of energy and light. You float within it, feeling a sense of belonging and purpose, as if every particle, every photon, every mirrored motion has led you here, toward insight, peace, and reflection. You notice that light carries a rhythm, a subtle cadence like breathing or the heartbeat of the cosmos. It rises and falls, pulses and softens, guiding you gently. You feel this rhythm resonate with your own, aligning your breath and mind with the ebb and flow of universal illumination. It is as if the universe is teaching through presence, showing that guidance can be gentle, consistent, and without urgency. As you follow the photons closer to your point of rest, you realize the profound lesson they carry, that even transformation, even what seems like destruction, produces illumination and continuity. Every ending, every change, every annihilation contributes to the ongoing light that threads the cosmos together. You sense the harmony of opposites, the gentle dance of existence, and the soft reassurance that everything is part of a living, breathing whole. And as the returning light bathes you in warmth and clarity, you sense the final stage of your journey approaching, the dream of balance, where matter and antimatter, light and shadow, inhale and exhale, all converge in serene harmony, allowing you to drift into the ultimate rest. You continue to float, guided by the soft glow of photons, carrying you home through the calm, luminous corridors of space. You drift deeper into a quiet, timeless space, where the rhythms of the universe converge into a soft, harmonious hum. Every motion slows, every light bends gently, and the distinction between matter and antimatter feels like a whisper in the distance. Here, there is neither rush nor tension, only the gentle cadence of existence, perfectly balanced, as though the cosmos itself has exhaled, paused, and folded all opposites into a singular serenity. You feel yourself suspended in this equilibrium, a participant in a dream of absolute calm. The boundaries between creation and dissolution blur. Stars pulse softly, antistars mirror them in distant reflection, and every particle of energy floats with tender intent. Annihilation has softened into transformation. Every ending has become illumination. You sense that the universe is not divided into halves, but joined in a quiet, enduring resonance, a cosmic lullaby that soothes both the mind and the soul. You float among these gentle currents, feeling the profound serenity of existence itself. Time stretches and condenses simultaneously. Past and future swirl together like slow, mingling currents in a river of light. You realize that balance is not a static state, but a flowing, breathing condition, in which every atom, every photon, every galaxy participates in the ongoing dance of harmony. Even the tiniest asymmetry that once gave matter its foothold in existence now feels like a tender note in the grand symphony, a reminder that perfection is not necessary for beauty, and that subtle imbalance can give rise to profound grace. You sense the mirrored universes intertwined in quiet conversation. Matter and antimatter no longer compete, no longer merely reflect, they harmonize. Their interactions are gentle, patient, and sustaining. You feel the soft pulse of photons bridging realms, a luminous thread that carries balance and knowledge without judgment. Energy flows evenly, nurturing every presence, supporting the equilibrium that cradles the universe in infinite calm. Gravity guides every motion without force, its impartial hand shaping orbits and rotations with patient care. Stars circle, antistars respond in echoing dance, and the entire cosmos seems composed of delicate threads, each tension just enough to maintain order while allowing freedom. You float in this choreography, aware of the quiet intelligence woven into every rotation, every reflection, every flicker of light. It is a pattern that teaches without words, a meditation in form, rhythm, and resonance. You drift among galaxies that shimmer with gentle light, observing nebulae that glow like soft lanterns in the cosmic night. Anti-galaxies reflect them perfectly, yet the resemblance is neither exact nor rigid. Each retains its individuality, its unique hue, its soft voice. You perceive that harmony does not erase difference. It embraces it. Every presence, every motion, every mirrored reflection is honored, celebrated, and held in equilibrium, as if the universe itself has learned the art of quiet compassion. The flow of energy carries a lullaby-like cadence. Photons born from both creation and transformation stream past you in calm, luminous arcs. You feel them wrap around your consciousness, carrying warmth, clarity, and the subtle knowledge that endings can be beginnings, and beginnings are always part of an ongoing cycle. Even in the apparent chaos of cosmic events, there is rhythm, and even in asymmetry, there is beauty. You float, cradled by this soft, persistent pulse, letting it guide you toward peace. Reflection becomes a meditation. You see the mirrored principles of balance, symmetry, and patience in every structure. You sense that the antimatter cosmos, once distant and mysterious, is now not a mirror, but a partner, an integral part of a universal equilibrium that encompasses all possibilities. The lesson is tender and profound. Connection arises not from sameness, but from recognition and understanding, and harmony thrives when differences are honored rather than erased. As you drift in this dream of balance, you feel the inhale and exhale of the universe, the cosmic breath that threads through matter, antimatter, light, and shadow. Each pulse carries wisdom. Each rhythm offers serenity. You realize that science itself is part of this lullaby, a gentle language that describes the elegance of existence, the continuity of energy, and the infinite patterns that sustain life, light, and consciousness. Knowledge and peace intertwine effortlessly, as if understanding is itself a form of rest. The universe softens further as you continue to float. Boundaries dissolve, motion slows, and every particle, every wave, every photon participates in an intricate, harmonious dance. You feel the ultimate reconciliation of opposites, the tension between creation and destruction, matter and antimatter, light and shadow, settling into gentle alignment. Every reflection, every interaction, every subtle imbalance has been woven into a coherent, compassionate whole. You sense yourself merging with this equilibrium, your consciousness carried along by the rhythm of balanced existence. The vast distances between stars and antistars shrink in your awareness. The flow of photons becomes a lullaby in which you are both participant and witness, and the universe, in its tender completeness, seems to embrace you. You are part of its soft heart, its gentle cadence, its infinite, breathing harmony. And as the stars begin to dim, their mirrored glow fading into the gentle quiet of cosmic slumber, you surrender fully to the dream of balance. Matter and antimatter, energy and light, creation and dissolution, all dissolve into a perfect, meditative serenity. The universe hums softly around you, a lullaby without end, and you drift, weightless, calm, and wholly part of this gentle, infinite equilibrium. You fade into the hum of equilibrium, where science and serenity become one, and as the last light of stars softens, the dream continues.